What up, y'all? It is the O Show. Sunday, November 26th. Hope y'all are doing good. Doing real good myself. Feeling very fed from the joyful turkulations. I love that extension, Zan. It's so much fun to see that the O Show is an international affair. In Sabatum's case, the reason we don't see Russia popping up on there is Sabatum, I think, uses VLC and live streamer to watch the stream. Sabatum functions as a reverse view bot, but he's very generous to the show, so he makes up for it. You know, I actually didn't have any turkeys then. I went in on that ham instead. Appreciate y'all tuning in. We're starting this week of Oshos off with some pen and paper role playing. We're continuing the Saga of Broken Blades here. Some Viking Dungeon World action. We're on the 12th session. We're in Season 2, Episode 2. Should be a good time. Glad y'all are here. Yo, Zeus. Appreciate you getting that bribe in before we get started. Let me mark it off on my bribe sheet over here. Zeus is paid. Alright. Good. What up, y'all?
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Smoking a little of the devil's salad, making sure I got Zeus's bribe marked off here. Episode 2. Season 2. Last session we wrapped up in the middle of things a little bit. I think I remember everything except for one thing. But I think I remember this too. I made that S red because that's the shadow that Sigmund essentially drove to madness with his cacophony of noise. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Alright. I knew I did something. Alright. And I had an asterisk next to one of the shadow's hit points too. So that must have been that one. Roger that. What was going on last session? I know what was going on. Y'all tell me what was going on.
The group was undertaking a perilous journey to Gusabi's tomb. And along the way, they find a caravan
And
with mhm.
on that undertake a perilous journey. Keep in mind that y'all were successful, right? And so you will get there at the end of all this. But we're playing out what occurred on the way, right?
Mhm.
Cool.
So along the way we find a caravan. The driver and the passenger are dead. The oxen pulling the caravan is dead. And there are these strange shadow-like creatures swarming about, which attack us. And that is what we are in the middle of fighting. Edda's armor is glowing red from a rote that Oscar just learned. Light. And yeah, like you said, one of the shadows is gone mad from Sigmund's performance, and now he's attacking the other shadows. And off in the distance, that little bee on the boulder is our mysterious friend, friend? Bolvi. That's the gentleman who saw Bruce's sword at Ugathwaite and mentioned that he knew the sword.
Right on. Do you all remember... I seem to remember that it... Well, first off, in the timekeeping section, I've got it noted that it'll be the 64th day of spring when you guys get to Gusabi's tomb. Was that... I'm pretty sure that was correct.
I didn't mark down... I neglected to mark down how long the journey would take us, but I do know it was going to take one fewer day than it should have. So we'll just have to maybe check the map.
Oh, how many rations were used?
Well, we also used one fewer ration than we were supposed to. So I think it would be the 65th day.
Yeah, let me peep at the map real quick. I won't move everybody. I'll just measure it myself real fast. Because I couldn't quite remember that either. So it was 6 days to get there. And
so
you said you were able to save time, right? So it'll be the 65th day. Yep, okay. Alright. So as far as the time during this encounter, I mentioned it happened like at sunset, essentially, like the sun was setting, if I remember correctly. Is that correct?
I think so.
I described it that way. Because it's gonna be getting dark. So I'll set the scene a little bit, and then I'll ask you all that infamous question of what do you do? The band, the Broken Blades, after taking some convincing for one of their party members, has traveled as outlaws in this land northeast to the reputed location of Gusabi's tomb, supposedly the tomb of one of the ancient giants who ruled these lands in the times before men. Along the way, the band encountered a ravaged caravan with the dead oxen and so forth, lying in a stream bed. Seems that it was ambushed while crossing, and strange flickering animate shadows seemed to be almost feasting on the remains, or drawn to it like some bizarre moths. When the party arrived on the scene, I can't remember exactly how it happened, but the Shadow's attention were drawn to the band of Broken Blades themselves. Battle ensues amongst the stand of trees that the party is currently in. I know that my artistry is probably so high level, abstract, and interpretive that a lot of you that don't have art training probably aren't going to be able to fully realize it. But this, to anyone with a little bit of art training, can tell that that's a tree stand viewed from above, like you're making a little Arma map or something. Additionally, there's a character who's recently been introduced to the campaign, Bolvi. And Bolvi is one of the troopers from Ugathwaite. Ugathwaite is a keep in the center of the Volker Forest, where many refugees from the party's destroyed village of Odstad were taken to, along with the party. The party was imprisoned there for a time. Bolvi has come along. If he's following the party, that seems like it could be likely. Could be a chance encounter. Maybe he's tied in with the caravan somehow. We don't know that at all. Bolvi has been crouched atop a boulder, silently witnessing the goings-on thus far. It's spring. It's a warm evening as the sun is setting. These shadows are going to become much tougher to deal with momentarily. You can hear crickets and cicadas and all that good shit. You can see fireflies starting to flicker now that it's getting dark. You can see the pink and purple streaks on the horizon. No chemtrails yet. They haven't invented those yet. What do you do?
Ed is going to see what happens if she hits one of these things with her sword. Not quite sure, since they seem to be like shadows, if I can hit them with my sword, but let's find out.
Alright, move on top of the one that you want to hit.
Alright.
Now,
Sigmund would look over to Edda, who is ready to strike one of the shadows, and yells, "Hit it with all of your might, psychologically and physically."
Sounds like an aid.
Yes.
alright, so I'm going to take it a little deeper now, because I gave you guys some praise earlier. I don't think it was even on stream. They've been doing a good job. So I'm going to force you to go deeper. So, describe that little scene to me. Like, you already said what you said, but set it up in my mind a little more, as if you were writing it for the screen. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the way I see it is, I think the last thing that happened was Sigmund tried to attack the shadows using his instrument, and it kind of half works, so that one of the shadows has gone berserk, and he's kind of looking around and sees Edda kind of instinctively draw her weapon, and realizing that these are kind of otherworldly foes.
And Edda's glowing too. Keep that in mind. Her armor is shedding red light.
That's noticeable as well, yeah. But just the whole image of Edda, a flame trying to draw a weapon out, kind of lets Sigmund equally instinctively just hit it with everything you have. That's what Sigmund is doing as well. He's coughing as he's like overwhelmed.
I just hit it with everything I had. Just doing what you said.
To add to that,
well, first, so mechanically, that was Sigmund rolling an aid. So, and even though it adds a little time to the show, I'm gonna slow down and talk about the moves more for people watching. in case they're trying to learn how to play. So at least I'm going to pull it up on the screen here. I won't sit there and read it though, you can just go ahead and roll it.
To add to that, while at Ugathwaite, the party had practiced some tactical moves together. So Edda's going to put her training into action, and her sword is low, like she's going to hit the shadow slicing up to try and push the shadow up if she doesn't kill it, and give Oscar a setup strike, which would give him an additional d4 of damage.
Got it. So first Sigmund rolls the aid. Right on. So he's going to successfully confer a +1 to your next roll there, Bean. And then you described one of your new moves, so I'll pull that up. So Edda is using
Setup strike.
Mm-hmm. And
Ooh.
sounds bad.
Yeah, I rolled a 4 even with the aid.
So you rolled your hack and slash, and you rolled a miss even with the aid. Alright. So anytime there's a miss, I get to make a move. I'm going to ponder it for a moment here.
I have a question as well. The move just says when you hack and slash.
Right. So that just means that now your hack and slash always has that.
But do I, in order to get the setup strike, would I have to succeed in that roll?
Correct.
Okay.
I think. Let me reread it. Maybe not.
Because all it says is when you hack and slash.
Yeah, you confer the bonus no matter if you fail. So
Word.
even by failing, you will help set up. Who were you setting up?
Oscar.
Got it. All right. Sigmund mutters his words of encouragement to Edda.
They fall on deaf ears.
Edda, almost overcompensating, spurred on by his words, trying to employ one of the new techniques she recently learned while spending time in the cells, tries to use her blade to... By the way, that blade, which is reforged, right? From the broken pieces that Bruce did for you?
Mm-hmm.
So the blade itself, brand new, bites deep into the shadow. But, I want to check one thing real quick, actually, about the hack and slash move itself. Since we've been getting even deeper into the mechanics there. So on a miss, you don't even get to deal damage. Groovy. That's gnarly. Your sword bites deep into the shadow, but its weight is greater than Edda anticipated. So she hoists it up into the air as it's dangling on her blade, and it feels like if you took a canvas tent and soaked it in concrete. It's so heavy, and it collapses down onto Edda, completely covering her and the light emitting from her armor in some sort of oozing black puddle on the forest floor. The light that was emitting from her armor is snuffed out with the slightest of audible noises, almost like a hiss, like fire embers being quenched, as a shadow engulfs her. And looking around, you realize while the sun begins to dip below the horizon that it's a lot darker than you realized. That the light from Edda's armor was illuminating your surroundings more than you realized while being caught up in the situation. Darkness is approaching. What do you do? Oh yeah, hold up. I gotta get Sigmund into that too. So Sigmund, of course, had to move a little bit to holler them words of encouragement. And we'll say they're both engulfed by this shadow. How about that? Edda collapsed onto Sigmund as she stumbled back. What do you do? Open to the class.
Bruce is going to call out to Bolvi and ask if he's going to just watch us die or if he's going to get down from his rock and help us.
Are you trying to activate a move, or is that just lore?
I'm trying to activate a move.
Which move?
I was thinking Divine Danger Charisma.
Nah.
Quite fit a parlay.
Yeah, I would say in order to get a GM character to do something that they're not currently doing that you'd like them to do, that's almost always going to fall under parlay if you're using a basic move, if you're not using a spell or some type of advanced move.
In which case...
But you can roleplay that you did that.
Yeah, I'll roleplay that I did that and hack and slash at the shadow nearest me.
So again, I'm going to start making y'all do this for my own personal enjoyment. Describe that scene as if it was for the screen. And I realize not everyone is like a total creative writer, but still give it your best crack as far as describing it how you'd imagine it on the Saga of Broken Blades TV show.
So Bruce will be looking across at Bolvi and swinging at the shadow, like from low to high, and all through it he's trying to get Bolvi's attention to get him over to help them, but also dodging the attacks of the shadow. Because they are two on top of him, and one is turned.
You got it. Which are you going to be hack and slashing at, the one Sigmund drove berserk or the other two?
The other two.
Got it. Bruce can dimly make out the silhouette of Bolvi perched on the boulder as the sun creeps below the horizon. And he swears that all he can really see is the slight folding of Bolvi's shoulders as he chuckles at Bruce's exasperation. Roll your bones. So that's a successful hack and slash. You did do damage, correct?
Yes.
A natural 12. That's a crit, right?
You wish. So here's the move Bruce is employing here.
3 plus 2 piercing. Well, yeah.
3 damage total? Or 3 plus 2 piercing damage?
Plus 2 piercing, I think, is just it goes through armor, right?
Correct. It goes through up to 2 armor.
Okay. Yeah.
So you do 3 damage with 2 piercing.
Right.
Alright, you actually made it in for some. Nice. Let me mark that down.
And I take 1 balance.
What does it look like when you succeed on your hack and slash? I'll say that I'll let you know that you get in for 1 damage, so
Yes.
you kind of barely get in. If that flavors your description.
I would think that he would, wind up for a big strike, and it would just cut straight through it, and then the shadow would reform behind it.
Yes. That's exactly what I thought as soon as you started saying that. That's a cool description. So like parts the shadow, it's 2 momentarily, and then you see it like very quickly like weave back together. What do you do?
Well, Edda's set this shadow up for a perfect strike for Oscar. However, she's also set it up to be perfectly hit herself and Sigmund.
Edda and Sigmund find themselves weighed down by the black weight of the shadow.
Edda's going to attempt to push the shadow off of her, giving them a little room and giving Oscar an opportunity to hit them. So through the shadow, hopefully Oscar can hear her. She shouts at him to ready his bow, as she uses her shield to give 1 big strong whack at the shadow to try and push it away from her.
So mechanically that sounds like defy danger strength. Is that what you were going for?
Yeah.
Nice. Again, in this case, let's roll it first so that we have an idea of how you should describe it for the screen, but then I'll have you do the thing. Feel me?
Mm-hmm.
And you can totally talk through the shadow, but it sounds like you're talking through like multiple layers of blanket.
It's muffled.
So it's very muffled. So Oscar hears Edda be like, "Boo, you know. Yeah, it's like Charlie Brown teacher voice.
Mhm.
Very similar.
So I rolled an 8.
What does an 8 do on defy danger with strength?
Well, I can achieve what I've set out to do, but it'll come at a cost.
I give you a hard bargain or ugly choice. Edda can free herself and not Sigmund, or she can get her own way out knowing that Sigmund, not as strong as her, would be instantaneously
Re-swallowed up by the shadow.
Engulfed by the shade. So that's her moral quandary.
I'm okay with that. Gotta get my glowing armor out so we can see. And would I then also succeed in kind of giving Oscar some space to shoot at it?
Edda definitely
re-envelops
notices that her
Sigmund?
armor is no longer of the glowing variety.
Oh. Well, that's inconvenient. Is that because I was no longer, like, being covered by it? I'd be no longer in Oscar's presence?
I think it was mostly that you're engulfed by a shadow. And that's one of the things they do. Is snuff out light.
All right. I'll still.
That's the actual name of one of their moves.
I'll still take the hard bargain.
Leave Sigmund behind.
Yep. I'll at least give Oscar the chance to shoot it.
What is your alignment? I'm just curious.
Listen, I can't do any good.
I'm just curious. I'm looking.
Shadow.
So you're good. Okay. Just saying. You may, let me just ask this to the class in general. Is this a good act?
I can't do any good from inside the shadow,
I'm
can
not.
I?
Look, I'm not asking for a rationale. I'm just saying what comes to mind. Is what's happening right now a good act? And of course, the Infinite Couch can always weigh in on this too. Is this a good act right now?
It will be one.
A
in the end.
paladin and a bard are both engulfed by a shadow. The paladin, using all of her might to press up, her arms shaking, realizes that she only has enough strength to quickly roll out from beneath the shade and leave her bard companion behind. Or she can remain engulfed in the shadow with him, with the possibility of aiding him in the future. So the question is
there shift of alignment happening?
Is this a good... Well, that's the thing. The reason I'm asking, is this a good act? Because in Dungeon World, your alignment is just another way to express your narrative, and you can kind of change your alignment freely. What it does mechanically is determines one of the ways you can get experience points. But from a story perspective, is this a good act?
I'll put it to you
No,
this
but
way.
will be.
When she said, I'm okay with that, I assumed that meant she was staying in the shadow.
Don't
JC
worry,
says it's a pragmatic act.
I think it's a good act in that, on paper, you would think that it would be quite an evil thing to leave a frail, sensitive bard back in the shadow. The fact that she's done that implies that she has a certain amount of faith in her teammates, which can only be good.
JC slid in here with the good act would be to hold the shadow up and let Sigmund leave and you stay behind.
Are you guys trying to convince me to change my move? Because that is a good idea.
Now I'm saying that well, I would let you do that, yeah, if you want to do that. Number two, I'm not trying to like punish you or anything. I'm simply saying, is this a good act? And then moreover, does your character consistently act in a pattern of good acts? If not, you might want to change that alignment. If so, if you want to stay good and play that alignment, leaving the frail bar behind, in my opinion, and it seems like a couple others, not really a good act.
Well, I hadn't considered my options to include allowing Sigmund to go in my place.
I didn't recommend it. I didn't suggest it as one, but
I think it's
I'm
a good
totally
idea.
down for it. Yeah,
I think we should do that.
because it's similar to the hard bargain I offered. There you go. So that would be good.
So does the rest of that situation still play out? It's just Sigmund's in the place of Edda?
Yep, it's just that Edda will be submerged underneath the shade still, and Sigmund will be able to be free.
All right.
Describe that to me for the screen. I want to know. That scene is a banger. Describe that to me.
So I imagine that Edda has her shield kind of up over her head, and she's like pushing up with her legs.
The shade is like slithering
against the shade. It's like dropping down like a oozing. Yes. You can tell that if you waited just a couple more seconds, it would just ooze down to the ground a little bit more and recover them like a.
She's shaking,
like
trying to hold it up.
But there's just enough room for Sigmund to roll out.
What does Sigmund's face look like as he rolls out?
His eyes are firmly closed shut.
He's just scared as fuck, man. I like that.
As he scrambles out. Do I need to do a roll to escape, or is that kind of implied that I do just escape?
Yeah, that's the virtue of Edda's move.
Thanks.
Was that... What is the What do you have to fulfill for good alignment?
Mine is to reveal a dangerous lie.
Ah, nice. Sigmund rolls free of the shade. The sun continues to set. The darkness begins to grow. What do y'all do?
I think an immediate response to scrambling away from the shade and before it consumes Edda completely, I think Sigmund is gonna try another move, and he's gonna try. It goes to 11 again, which I think is what happened last time, where he unleashes another crazed performance on top of the shadow that is trying to engulf Edda.
So this is a Bard advanced move called It Goes to 11. Now, again, let's go ahead and roll it, and then I want you to describe it, because with the roll, you'll be more informed on how it goes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you. Give me a roll. Ooh.
Ugh. So on a total whiff, that means I get to make a move. So let me ponder this a moment. And this is good too, honestly, because I'm, again, like I was giving you guys praise, I'm basically back to only making moves when I'm supposed to, according to the rules, which is literally when you guys roll a whiff, because you don't want me to make moves.
Don't forget to mark experience points, though.
Oh yeah, anytime you fail a roll, mark them XP. Ah, man, I might do something dirty here. Hold tight. The thing is, y'all can't really see the caravan anymore. Well, you can see it well enough to do something dirty. I have the darkness approaching, but it's not gonna become a problem until a more relevant time. So now I'll save that, and I'll describe the results of this miss as follows. This miss is gonna have all the shadows start honing in on Sigmund. Save for the Berserk one, which is gonna chase its other shadow companions. So whatever sound you make causes all of the shades to, almost like you blew a dog whistle, kind of like jerk toward your direction and start floating toward you. So describe that for me.
So Sigmund, realizing that he has an exit out of the Shadow's grasp and aided by Edda, he kind of screws his eyes up, curls up into a ball, and rolls away from the situation, but is holding the lyre that he's been holding since the start of this altercation, and very, very rapidly tries to strum a chord on there to kind of knock off the shadow that's trying to take hold of Edda. But because of the frenetic nature, he kind of misses and just hits like the higher notes, so it lets out kind of like a weird screeching noise rather than something that's melodic or something that would actually attack a shadow. So it's just kind of like a clumsily played sound that just seems to draw the attention of all the other shadows to him.
What does his face look like now?
His eyes are wide open.
So earlier there was a cut and you see his eyes all squished shut, and then later there's a cut and his eyes, you see the white like all the way around. He's like, ah.
Could not be more open.
Alright, what do y'all do?
I'll take in a few moments and seeing how the shadows have moved and engulfed and swallowed these companions. Oscar looks to Volan and ponders to himself. And he tries to remember what these things resemble.
What move is this?
Spot lower.
Alright, so it's a basic one. I'll pull it up on the screen for the folks. Alright, roll the bones and then we'll describe it.
That XP.
Power level in the night.
I haven't dealt damage in a while, so I'm gonna deal some damage. Been too nice on these misses. So again, I'll give you the power of the description. I'm just gonna tell you what happens here, Miller. This shadow, as a result of your miss while you're pondering, is going to be making a beeline for this next shadow to, it's kind of like chasing it, like a dog chasing a car. So it has no care that you're there at all and just passes through you, which proves to be a pretty painful experience here. Go ahead and roll the damage, and then if you don't mind, describe that for me. It's going to do a d6 plus 1. So it's going to do 5 damage as it passes through you. Though your armor does apply. So be sure to subtract armor. And ponder it a moment. Give me a little description for the show. What would that look like?
Well, in that moment that he was looking over to Volan and to the creatures starting to swarm around Sigmund, he feels and kind of sees one kind of like rip through and around and envelop him. And it is not a pleasant experience, and it definitely jars the fact that he was trying to figure something out. And
well, that'll ruin your concentration.
Indeed. Kind of disconcerts him even more as to what he can do, seeing as these things almost seem immaterial.
What do y'all do now?
Bruce is going to rummage in his adventurer's pack and strike off a torch, and then approach one of the shadows and just baseball swing straight into it and see what happens.
Nice.
I'm into it. So, there's an item in Dungeon World called, what is it again?
Adventuring gear, 5 uses, 1 weight.
So it represents the generic things you need. Rope, torch, 10-foot pole, whatever. And you mark off uses. It's a real neat item. So Bruce used that to have a torch in his pack. And then it sounds like the move you described is just the hack and slash, but for swag and potential effect, you're using a torch, eh?
Yeah.
Let's roll the bones so we can kind of see our result, and then I'll have you describe it. So that one is with hack and slash. Mechanically, you deal damage and you receive damage, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead and roll your damage as well.
Nice.
And you have you're using a torch, but as far as like mechanics go, you have 2 piercing, right?
2 piercing is on.
Is
ring
that
gear,
just
so
ring
does
gear?
that
That's
count?
not from a. Is that
Yeah,
not
it's
from an
a
ability?
modifier on ring gear
Gotcha.
itself.
Okay, never mind then. If it was like a class ability, you can kind of apply that to improvised weapons, but if it's ring gear specific, no. Let's see. Let me go ahead and mark the HP first. So I'll tell you what's gonna happen, as tempted as I am to describe it, and I'm gonna have you describe it. Mechanically, what's gonna happen is Bruce is gonna connect with the shadow in front of him. Go ahead and roll me a d6 plus 1, actually, Bruce. And then armor will apply to that, but that's what you're taking. Essentially, Bruce will connect with his hack and slash with the torch. It will ignite this shadow like some kind of blanket. It will be burnt mostly to tatters. You'll be able to see through this shadow. Very spooky, bizarre effect. But it's also going to engulf Bruce in its death throes. And it's still in the game. I'm just pointing out it's visibly very wounded. That's a badass scene. So describe that for the screen for me.
We'll see it through the shadow that's enveloping Edda, and it's just a dim light that strikes off, and then it comes out of the shadow, and you see Bruce just run up and baseball swing straight into the shadow, and then it crumbles down on top of him as it burns.
It's got to make a sweet too. It's
Yeah.
got to make some sort of a noise so high pitched it's like barely at the audible spectrum.
Was that, you said the shadow that was covering Edda?
He just described it as like the scene. You see it through that, so you see like these dim figures moving, and then one of them just lights up, and then it cuts to the
I can
real
see a
thing.
quick flash of. So Edda's still covered, I guess, was my question.
Yeah.
But I can see a flash of light somehow through the shadow I'm covered by.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta pay penance for that chaotic act you did.
What do you do?
I've got something. I've got a little bit of a memoir that I'm going to remember. Would you like me to post it in Roll20 or on the stream chat?
You can do both.
All right, because this was a very literal act. Oscar remembers a bit of reading that he did while he was in Ugathwaite, and it spurs him to fight onwards. And he remembers this passage.
He's reading some Frank Herbert novels at Ugathwaite.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. What move is this?
Well, being spurred onward by this bit of this bit of literary art come to life, he rears around, looking back as to where the shadow came from, and he prepares volley to fire at the one that is engulfing
pure
Edda.
swag. I like
And
that. It passed through you literally.
That is the shadow that you have an extra D4 damage against.
Yep, that is the
Yeah.
one that you set up, Strike.
Edda's going to.
I'm looking forward to Oscar firing arrows at a shadow that's on top of Edda, because
Hold
those
on.
misses are going to be delicious. Anyway.
Edda knows that Oscar's still there, and she's just yelled at him to ready his bow. her initial plan didn't work out, but what she does is in the moment that the flames light up the scene for just a second, she can see where Oscar's standing.
Well, keep in mind, Bruce has lit a torch now too, so he's holding a torch. So where there was no light before,
right?
Now Bruce is holding a torch. So he also very wisely headed off a potential avenue of me fucking y'all over. So that was good too.
She's gonna hold her shield up, facing towards Oscar, so that he can hit the shield and not her.
Got it. So you're trying to do aid.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and roll that. That's a successful aid, so you'll be giving a +1 to Oscar's volley roll, which he can go ahead and make right now. So even with was that, you already incorporated that?
Yeah.
You know basically what I have to do in this situation, right? Oscar, roll your damage. Edda, you take that minus armor.
Okay.
So Oscar shoots you.
God damn it. Don't worry, I have 3 armor.
Now, either of you can do it, but one of you describe this for me for the screen.
Oscar was so determined after wheeling around and experiencing a bit of his memory, just lets loose an arrow and it fires at what was intended to be the shadow. And you can see it kind of flows through. He sees it disappear, and he hears a scream.
Yeah, it's almost like the shadow, like as the arrow pierces it, it like quickly like and like makes a little space for it to go through. But you hear Edda like ah,
as it clips her in the shoulder.
Or is she tough? Does she just grunt?
Edda likes to scream.
Yeah, she screams. She screams like each session. Edda screams at least one time. By the way, we're an hour in already, so my players, my viewers, everybody, take just a second, man. Stand up. Get that blood flowing. I think we'll be going till about 4 o'clock, so we'll have about 4 hours sesh today. Appreciate everybody hanging out. Real 1 hour in. Let's take a moment. Alright, what do you do?
Edda's going to muffledly shout out from underneath this shadow. Let's try that one again. And kind of like push her shield out against the shadow so that he can see more clearly.
I see.
Where
You're trying to hold up your shield and be like, just shoot that.
Right.
I like it.
So kind of pushing it out against the shadow.
Are you trying to risk? You're risking another aid.
I think I'm rolling another aid. Yeah.
Getting in defense of yourself.
I thought about that, but let's try this again. All right, got another 10.
Maybe this time Edda's like, shoot the shield.
If you're gonna hit me where it doesn't hurt.
Alright.
Well, Oscar readies another arrow and orders Volan to leap onto the Edda's shield.
I wonder when this was going to come into play. So, Volan is trained to fight monsters, so it should be good to go on that count. And what does he add to your volley roll?
He adds his ferocity.
Which is?
3.
Nice. So Volan's getting in the mix on the shadow now. Go ahead and roll, and then we'll describe it. I think that's been working out better.
Is that like +6 for you?
We've got +1 off the Abe, +3 off Volan, so that's 4 right there.
It's added its ferocity to my damage.
Oh, never mind. Not to the attack. Got it.
Yeah.
Bummer.
That's pretty insane. +3 damage. That's really good.
Yeah, it is.
Gotta hit first.
JC
That's
is
the point.
glad that now there's 2 friendly targets. By the way, Bean, JC was saying
Exactly.
that he prefers Edda the Beheader continue her descent into becoming a blackguard. He likes evil Edda.
There we
Are
go.
we gonna find Frostmourne and Gusabi soon?
Good. I seen you on that WoW when you're supposed to be playing Destiny. Sorry, I gotta pull up volley here real quick for the people. So on a successful volley, you just get to straight up deal your damage, right?
Yes.
Nothing too fancy on that.
And don't forget to add an extra d4.
And my 3.
Lord. Alright. Let me go ahead and update the HP. So you did 8 damage total. We'll say definitely pierces a gaping hole, but I'll just give it to you as a percentage. We'll say it's above 50%. Alright? Like you can visually tell. So describe that badass scene for me. You gotta make sure Volan's in there too.
Well, as Edda rolls over to the crest, he sees the crest of the shield, and he takes aim for this, and he signals Volan, I don't even know what's on your shield, actually.
Well, what is?
Edda, what's on your shield?
It's just a plain wooden shield. There's no, there's no markings or anything on it.
There's no little metal.
Is the band?
Buckle.
Yeah, is the edge banded in iron or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does it have a iron
It's got one of those
plate in the center?
Yeah,
or?
exactly.
Okay.
An iron, one of those little iron bumps in the middle.
We got an iron disc and then a band around the outside.
Yeah, okay. So, well, he thinks to Volan, there's your target to hit, and he too fires at near the edge of the band to hopefully get the ricochet in there and get it off and away from Edda while still striking the shadow. So as he readies his bow, Volan kind of runs around Sigmund and towards Edda's ooze and leaps in, striking for what would, I guess, be a core of the shadow. And then as Oscar lets off a round to the right of him, and he hears a solid thwang as he hits the band of the shield.
What does Volan do? Does he grab and chew on a little shadow action?
Is leaping in with claws.
JC asks,
Catching
is it a
the
target shield? It is actually a target shield. And yeah, that was kind of what I was doing as I was thinking back to how Baldur's Gate did it without telling you the exact HP. So this shade is wounded, quote unquote. What do you do?
Bruce is gonna shift the torch to his other hand, draw ring gear, and stab straight up into the shadow that's engulfing him.
I like it. So that's a pretty simple one. Again, we'll just keep the same pattern. Just roll your move first. Then I'll arbitrate what happens mechanically, and then instead of me describing it, now y'all describe it.
How about that?
Man, what type of move? Let me think about this for a second.
We've had 3 rolls where we've rolled 2 ones.
I haven't
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
dealt much damage to y'all, so again, I'm just gonna come in with a basic one off this damage. Hit it with a d6 plus 1, Bruce, and armor does apply. Now, quickly, what type of hit point status are y'all at? How many out of how many? Bruce?
18 out of 26.
Oscar?
Wounded out of full.
Wounded out of full? Fair enough, fair enough. Ed?
25 out of 26.
Sigmund?
I think I have 10.
Out of?
10?
10, yeah.
Oh. Ouch.
17 out of 21.
Got it. Alright, just be sure y'all keep each other abreast of that, you know, because you A, would be able to visually ascertain it, B, your characters would likely be like, my fucking arm is broken, or whatever. And C, I've been going kind of easy in the first season here, and I've even felt myself doing that this time, and I need to deal more damage to you, so there you go. I need to quit being so nice. So that's that. What do you do? Oh, actually, describe that for me real quick. I'm sorry, Bruce. Describe the result of your failed hack and slash and the subsequent damage.
So Bruce will have drawn ring gear, and he'll attempt to stab up into it.
And it will.
Because
The shadow itself is heavily wounded, so think threadbare.
yeah, because there's so little shadow left for him to stab at, he goes to poke up, and it's just a hole that he stabs straight through and doesn't hit anything.
Nice.
And it consumes him a little further and deals the damage.
So it basically just kind of sticks to him, clings deeper. Those little shadow tendrils get inside your armor a little bit. They have to, you know, they can't right through it. They have to inside. Cool. What do you do? What's up? What are y'all doing? I'll say at this stage, it's dark enough that without Bruce's torch, you're pretty much shit out of luck. And things outside of reasonable torch range you can't really see anymore. For instance, Bolvi. You know, you feel me. What do you do?
There's only, you said just a little bit of the shade covering Bruce, yes?
Yeah, it looks like a moth-eaten shadow. Very bizarre appearance. And it's like got small flames and embers still flickering here and there. It's barely hanging on. In Baldur's Gate, it would be, I think they had a thing called near death. It would be near death.
So the shadow that's covering Etta, there's like almost like a slit in it. There's a hole in it
Sure.
where Etta can now see Oscar through.
Maybe one eye. Yeah, that would look cool.
Uh-huh. Kind of underneath the shadow, maybe Oscar can see Etta's grinning as she manages to pull out her sword, shouting at Oscar, "Let's do it again!" And she hack and slashes up to try and push the shadow off of her and set Oscar up for another setup strike.
Okay, no, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but
That's what she's attempting to do.
you're in a little bit of a
I am in a
dangerous
situation.
situation, we could describe it. So, you know, just reevaluate exactly
I'd have
what
to
you're doing.
defy danger strength.
Definitely an option. Do you want to roll that, see how it goes, and then we'll describe it?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Hold on one second.
No worries.
Just double checking my modifier.
For those of you playing the home game, Defy Danger is another basic move. Cover whenever you're acting despite some sort of imminent threat.
The rolls tonight.
I like them.
Yeah, I know you do.
So I'm going to keep it simple for my next couple moves here and just consistently deal some damage to you guys. Since well, how many times have I dealt damage in a row? Once or twice?
Twice.
Alright, so I'll deal damage once more and then I'll switch it up. So go ahead and roll a d6 plus 1, apply it to Edda, and your armor will apply on that.
Alright. So Edda,
Yeah, describe this
she's
fail.
reaching for her sword.
And don't forget your XP, by the way.
Trying to pull it up. But she can feel, it's almost like the shadow knows what she's thinking.
The shadow knows.
And it kind of sucks itself around her arm, pinning her arm down so she can't even move.
So she got jujitsu'd by the shadow.
She did.
Nice. And as it pins her arm, you know, freezing, infinite cold shadow tendrils get in and around her gauntlet in her hand. She can feel. Or does none of that damage get through?
None of the damage actually gets through. She can
It
feel her
tries.
armor holding true.
Yeah.
But she can tell it's trying to hurt her.
All right. What's next?
I had a question. So, basically, when Bruce hit the shadow with his torch, and the shadow basically just burned into flames and is now kind of like tattered and in ashes. Was that the fire, or was that the actual like impact of the hit?
It's hard to say.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, I think Sigmund is going to have to rack his brains and I think spout some lore about the way fire affects basically these kind of wraith-like creatures. Because if he remembers that there's a significant weakness, then that would lead him to do something showing a bit of initiative.
Sounds good to me. So we'll roll it up and then see how it goes, and then we'll describe it. Especially if you miss right here. So during the move, even without the miss, remember these shadows are all about Sigmund, so they're coming in hot and heavy. So for this one, which is kind of like trying to aggressively get after these. But that is a, let's see, partial success here on the spout lore, right? Tell you something interesting lore-wise about shadows that Sigmund knows. Which that one's pretty easy because Sigmund. What is Sigmund's specialty again? History, right?
Grand histories of the known world.
Sigmund, as he looks around and sees the shadows approaching him, remembers that there was an ancient count in distant the lands to the east, that little separate island that's on the overworld map. He remembers that there was an ancient count there who was assassinated by something of a similar description that was served to him at dinner as a beverage in a sealed jar. When he opened it, it fluttered out, engulfed him, sucked the life out of him. No one ever knew what happened. So very inappropriately, Sigmund's brain is suddenly like, aha! but not terribly useful for the situation.
No.
But a cool way to assassinate somebody, you know?
You can store them in a jar. Information there.
Yeah.
I think in remembering this, Sigmund shouts, maybe 2 minutes after the fact, "Don't let it touch you."
Roger.
I'm on that, Sigmund. Thanks.
Nice. That was pretty funny. I felt like I did a better job on that spout lore than I've done in the past. That one's a little hard from the DM side, but that was a good one. But that was not a fail, right? That was a partial. So the shades are at bay. There's no pain off this one.
So I'm gonna try something here where Sigmund doesn't have any adventuring gear, so he doesn't have any torches at his disposal. He doesn't have a lot of things to use. So Sigmund's close to Bruce, so what he's going to do is try something. He's going to tear off one of the sleeves of his otherwise ostentatious clothes and see if he can get Bruce to light it so that he can wave it wildly in front of one of the shadows to see what it does.
I like it. However, you'll be doing this in a dangerous situation now that, remember all the shades that you pissed off? They're kind of swarming around you, save for the one on Edda and Bruce. So you can still do what you're trying to do, but it's going to require a defy danger to make it happen.
All right. Well, I think the most obvious way to defy the danger is to use Sigmund's slight dexterous body to roll out the way of immediate danger.
The way you described it so far would be dexterity, I agree.
Okay. Oops.
No, I think what I'll do is I don't want to overly roll here, so that defy danger covers like the whole act, the whole situation, you know, of getting lit.
Got you.
So I got to give you a bargain with that type of result here. I like this. So you have the option to succeed, but that success is going to come at the cost of there will be a point where you have to shove your hand through a shadow so that Bruce can light the sleeve with the torch, meaning that you're going to voluntarily submit yourself to damage, but you will succeed if you do that.
All right. I think it's do or die, so I'll take the bargain.
Now, describe that for me, fam.
So, Sigmund, upon remembering completely unhelpful information, well, not unhelpful, but just not immediately helpful information about the shadows, sees the crumbling, ashen shadow and sees Bruce flailing around with a torch. So, without asking Bruce to just casually stroll over and light a part of his clothing on fire, Sigmund scrambles as quickly and nimbly as he can towards Bruce, but is having to dodge shadows left, right, and center. And he's kind of lunging with his arms, almost like he's kind of swimming forward. And as he does so, he plunges his hand and his arm through the flame, and does it quickly enough so not to burn his hand, but just long enough so that the arm of his sleeve catches on fire.
Got it. Do d6 plus 1 for me for the damage, and your armor will apply.
I don't think I have any armor. Oof.
Ouch.
Cool.
Now it really
So
is do or die
Sigmund sets
time.
himself on fire.
Alright.
No, he's not on fire. He is burned, and he's holding a flaming sleeve now.
And with that, I guess the whole point of this is to see how the shadows react to flames. So Sigmund turns and essentially plunges his fiery arm through the chest of one of the shadows.
So it sounds like you're trying to do a hack and slash. Is that correct?
With my arms.
Yeah. With Dungeon World mechanics, you always deal your class damage, even if you're using like improvised things.
Just for my own clarity, is this sleeve still on your arm, or have you ripped it off and you're holding it?
Sounds like that he wants it to still be attached to him and on fire.
Yeah. Because there's more strength behind it if it's actually my arm, rather than if it's just a piece of cloth that I'm.
And Sigmund's a little bit insane, so.
It sounds like Sigmund's lost his will to live and wants to roll another character.
Also possible. So it sounds like you want to try to do a hack and slash with this, right?
I'd like to rename this because he's neither hacking or slashing, so he's bumping and thumping.
You want to do a bump and thump. Yeah, man, roll it.
Okay. So this is great.
Hey!
Nice.
Plus -1.
That is with the right modifier as well. So.
So go ahead and roll whatever your class damage is as a bard.
Check that. Okay.
And you also need to define a target.
Yeah, which of the shadows as well.
Oh, that's a good point. Well, it makes sense to do the one that's lying on top of. Wait, are there two? I'm looking at the S's here. Are there two? Is there one on Bruce and one on Edda?
You got it.
Right. If I go for the one that's on Edda, does that incur any kind of penalty because it's so close to her?
That's fine.
No.
Yeah.
All right, let's do that. So base damage is. Right. Cool.
So I'll tell you what happens here. Sigmund with his sleeve engulfed in fire, starting to like crawl up the arm, plunges it down into the shadow, right? It's gonna do some damage. Actually, no. It's not gonna do any. Because it almost like A, Sigmund's not strong enough to puncture it, and then B, he feels this shade almost instinctively like flap itself out, like the few flames that start to catch it, like you feel it almost like a muscle like patting itself out. But ultimately Sigmund's not even strong enough to penetrate. He kind of bounces right off, and then he sees it put itself out.
Can I bogart that a little bit?
What do you mean?
Could he put his hand through the hole where he can see Edda's eye peeking out? Just enough that Edda might be able to touch his hand?
No.
Okay. I tried.
But if you want to try to do something similar, you could potentially, with a future move, try to reach out. You know?
Right, that's what I'll have to do.
Describe that for the screen for me, Sigmund. Are you surprised when your fist doesn't even penetrate?
Your fist of fury.
Yeah, well, so
Sigmund's
having
quickly
lunged-
becoming like played by Jim Carrey in this show. He like looks at his hand on fire, like ah!
I don't know what I'm doing.
These hands were only meant for handshakes.
He's like Ace Ventura all of a sudden.
Sigmund, the pet detective,
Yeah.
runs towards the. So Sigmund runs towards Bruce to try and, rather than grab the torch out of Bruce's hand, light some of his ostentatious, billowy clothes on fire in the hope that that will be the kind of silver bullet that will get rid of these otherworldly enemies. And with that, noticing and remembering Edda trapped underneath a shadow and a shield, and the sacrifice that she did to get him out, plunges his flaming arm into the back of the shadow, but the embers die out as he flails his arm towards, and as it's engulfed by the darkness, he just feels the wet singe snuff out the flame completely, and he's just stuck there, weakened by his spontaneous but ineffectual gambit. His eyes are wide open again.
He's just trying to put a little
Constant
showmanship
state of
into it.
surprise.
Little showmanship.
I didn't mean for this to be such like a slapstick round, but it's like
Is Bruce on the ground with his shade, or is he just engulfed with the shade?
He's standing up and there's not much of it left. It's kind of hanging on
Oh,
him.
he's like a very poorly made Halloween ghost.
Yep, and I imagine these are kind of swirling around Sigmund. And then this is kind of chasing, remember? Because it's Berserk. So these like are swirling. This one is
Berserk
chasing. This one is still all over Edda. This one is hanging on near death, draped over Bruce.
I was really expecting the Berserk one to do more than just run around.
Like what?
Like, actually attack it.
Attack what?
One of the shades. Isn't it supposed to
How do
fight?
you know it's not?
I don't know. I'm stuck in shadow. I guess I can't see. Speaking of... I'm
Dungeon
gonna
World
try to
isn't
attack this guy
exactly a
again.
tightly mechanical game, so...
What were you saying you were gonna do, Bruce?
I'm gonna try to hack this one in half that's on top of me.
So you're gonna try a hack and slash on it?
I wanted to bump and thump it.
Go ahead and
Hang tight.
roll it, and then we'll see the result. So that is you deal mutual damage. So roll your damage and also roll a d6 plus 1 damage for yourself. So that is enough damage to rip that one to pieces. And the shade itself essentially just kind of, you know, them fireworks that weren't really fireworks, the little snake firework where you just light it and it's just like this ash thing that grows, and then at the end it's just like ash that fades to nothing. That's like these shades. They just fade to ash when they perish. So you're able to destroy the one on you, Bruce, if you want to describe that scene for us.
Bruce is gonna cut upwards in an arc, and it'll cleave the shade in half, and the top half of it will try to claw at his mail ineffectively because Bruce has 2 armor and doesn't take any damage from it as it crumbles to ash around him.
Yeah.
And then Bruce is going to run over to Sigmund, hand him the torch, and when he does, grab his flaming wrist and spend his balance to heal.
Well, number one, he's not on fire anymore. The shade put him out, but he does have the burns from the situation. Number two, there's kind of this swirling cloud of shades pissed off at Sigmund that you got to contend with in some way.
Bruce would just probably slam in through one of the shades.
So it sounds like you want to try to defy with strength?
Yeah.
Nice.
Would it be strength or constitution?
Strength, I would imagine, would be like trying to shoulder check through or something like that. Constitution, I would imagine, kind of like buckling down and then just like slowly walking through, you know, letting them like try to bash through your armor or whatever and not even caring.
Yeah, I'll try to slam through it with strength.
Roger. Let me think of a bargain that I like here. Alright. You can remain outside of the swarm of shades, or you can successfully ram through. However, how it works out is you're ramming through an opaque shade. At the last moment, you realize that Sigmund's right on the other side of it, and you both collapse to the ground.
He's got like no health, so I think me landing on top of him could kill him. So maybe I'll stay outside.
Crunched by Bruce.
Or protect him. I mean, like a meat shield.
Yeah.
There's two ways to think about it.
Yeah, I think I'll go in with Sigmund.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, it's not like I would do, I'm not going to double dip, so I'm not going to hit you with damage for falling on top of Sigmund. And I could even reasonably imagine someone using defend from there. I've defended you. Ah, you're crushing me. No, defending. Anyway.
Can they hit you? No, I'm on top of you.
But you're hurting me. Shut up. Alright, it's so... How whatever bargain you want to take, go ahead and describe it for me.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna end up on top of Sigmund, and I'll slam through the shade, and on the other side I see a wide-eyed Sigmund staring straight at me, and hit him square in the face, land on top of him.
I'm gonna call this episode Wide Eyes.
Shove the torch into his hand and grab his burnt wrist and spend 3 balance to heal him for 1d4 per balance.
Go ahead and roll that amount too. But I'm gonna ask for some more detail here. So you shove through. You heal him for 8. You knock him to the ground. While he's on the ground, you pass off the torch. I can kind of imagine that. I can see that. I imagine, like, because Bruce wearing armor is all, you know, kind of tank-like. So imagine Sigmund's getting squashed. He's probably like face up. He's got his arm out with the torch in it. It's kind of like he's holding it up, like so that it's not sputtering into the undergrowth of the forest here. Or maybe he's even like pushed up against a tree or something. Yeah, that's what I imagine. He's like up against a tree bowl. I imagine Bruce has fallen like probably back. His back is on Sigmund, like he's laying on him like a reverse turtle or something.
Not face to face for Bruce / Sigmund.
Well, yeah, they could do that too, so they can kiss. But then they kind of might need to be at least face to face for the. Maybe they land face to face, then you roll over because you would probably be face to face when you did the balance, and that's spooky too because you're looking right into each other's eyes, and then Bruce holding Sigmund's wrist heals him, which is not really something we knew that Bruce could do, and the viewers too. They didn't know that Bruce could do that. So what does that look like? Is there any type of mystical effect? Does it just like heal, and does it feel like anything? Does it scar up really bad because it heals rapidly, or is it perfect, like no scar, or what is it like?
There's a light that shines from the pommel of Hringir, and it goes through to Bruce's hand that's gripping Sigmund's wrist, and it heals very rapidly, so it almost hurts Sigmund.
Got it.
Because the wounds close so quickly.
That's a badass ability, by the way.
Now holding the torch through this exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the end of that, right? So what's next?
Ed gonna try and get out of her shadow.
How much did I get healed for? I kind of...
8.
8.
8, alright, thanks.
How does that put you? Are you back to full now?
Yeah, it's me back to my frail 100%.
Alright, sound like Edda wanted next?
Yep. She's gonna try and push her way out through that tiny hole that's been left by Oscar's arrow. A defy danger strength.
Nice. So it's going to be like a birth sequence if it's successful.
A little bit. That's kind of how I imagined it.
Nice. Roll it up.
Before she pushes out with all her strength, though, she manages to snake out just one hand, and Oscar can hear her muffled screams for help.
Hint.
Hint, hint.
Aye. Alright. You rolling?
Oh, yeah.
Are you going to aid?
Only if you don't want to aid me. You don't have to, if you feel our luck is bad.
Oscar is pondering a bit here on his own. As everybody knows in his party right now is engulfed in shadows, and he can't see anybody except a hand.
Edda pokes her eyes out and sees that Oscar has his finger touched to his nose. Not me.
Alright.
Oscar has his phone out, but it's like made out of bark and moss and shit. He's on Elf Book. He found out he's part elf now, so he's on Ancestry.com looking it up.
Alright, here we go. Yep. Still failed. Would have failed either way.
Good thing I didn't help you.
Yeah, exactly. So as Edda tries to reach her hand through the shade, or do you want to describe what happens?
Yeah, I'll tell you what happens. The fail result, and then we'll go from there. I gotta ponder for a moment because I don't want to just do damage constantly. This is the one I said I'd switch up. Doing damage makes sense here, but let me see if something else makes sense too. Edda reaches her hand out, and the shadow seals around her hand, almost like now having her grip by the wrist. Was it your sword hand?
It was my shield hand.
So now you can't use that thing. Well, you
Okay.
can with your other hand, but you got to pick sword or shield one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the fail result. And to be pure transparent for people trying to learn to be a dungeon master, that is turn their move back on them. So putting your hand through that hole caused the shadow to immobilize you on that arm level. Describe that for the screen though.
I would imagine it would be more like she's trying to put her shield hand through the shadow, and the shadow takes that opportunity not to grab her hand, but to grab her shield.
Nah, it's your hand.
All right. Then it wraps her hands kind of like half out of the shadow, but wrapped
Yeah, I
in
imagine it would get you
tendrils.
by the wrist, so your whole hand
Yeah.
is on the outside.
Little wisps of shadow wrapped around the wrist.
Yeah, that's
Shield's
kind of cool too,
inside.
because it's like at the edges it's insubstantial, but so like it's a very strange effect to see it gripping. Yeah. What's next? What do you all do?
Swinging back to the only party member not engulfed in shadows. Oscar
Volan.
takes a
Oh.
moment. I guess Volan's not. He's on the outside one.
He's
But-
like hackles raised at the one that Ed is at, waiting for further.
Oscar looks towards, I guess, how far into the night or evening are we now?
It's totally dark. Only light is coming from the torch that is currently gripped in Sigmund's hand, him and Bruce are in a collapsed pile at the base of a tree, and they have a little shadow cyclone of sorts swirling around the whole mess. So you can see the torchlight, and it's a very spooky effect because the shadows are swirling around it. But as far as seeing the silhouette of Bolvi, or really anything beyond, a couple paces, not gonna happen. It's dark, and you're inside of a tree stand.
Well, looking up into some break in the foliage above him, Oscar just looks up to the gods for a bit of guidance.
Oscar recently started multi-classing Ranger Cleric, if I remember correctly. That's pretty badass. Are you using a move?
Yeah, it's called guidance.
Mm.
Is it a cleric move?
It's a rote.
So it's a spell, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So you're casting the spell Guidance. I'm looking at the Guidance spell first. Alright, cool. So go ahead and do your cast the spell move.
Did that just roll twice?
No.
No, I saw 2 sets of die come out. It's weird.
The 3D bugs out sometimes.
Okay.
But it looks like only one showed up in the roll. And it was a delicious failure. The Batum goes, I was hoping that there'd be video games. These are the original video games. These are the pre-video games. Also, Sabatum, if you take a look at the Twitch page, I found a much better schedule extension. So you can actually see in a very attractive way exactly what we're playing, when we're playing it, what we're doing. No excuses. Thank you for the bits. Appreciate it. Yeah, we time traveled to, well, this is a very modern take on the 1980s actually. So we time traveled to like 2005 only. So failing on cast a spell is a little bit interesting. First, I like that cast a spell is a move, so it's not just. On a total whiff, though, I can go kind of wild with my effects. So.
Some wild magic.
Oh yes, Abatum. Does the schedule auto adjust to your time zone? I think Zan was saying it does. So I think that's probably the best part because we got so many Euro bros who tune in. I kind of want to deal damage. What is Oscar's patron again?
Honier.
And what is it? Does he have a weapon that's his gimmick?
He's got 2 wolves. He's the god of silence, I think.
Silence and battle frenzy.
I got it. All right. Roll your base damage, Oscar, and deal it to yourself. We'll be nice here. Armor plus. And you can describe this scene how you want, but the basics is your prayer does cause a manifestation of Honir to appear with his 2 wolves, right? And as part of the manifestation, one of the wolves takes you by the wrist and its jaw to lead you where the guidance would show you. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Problem is you're not used to it. So you weren't prepared for the pain, the energy of getting a missive from Honir. And so when the wolf takes you by the wrist, the pain is so much that you can't focus on what he was trying to tell you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Nice. So if you want to think about it like Dune, you stuck that hand into the Gom Jabbar, it lit you up, boy. You weren't ready. Describe that for the screen. What does it look like?
Well, it was a literal manifestation, so it's kind of surprised because this is the first time that he's seen Honir when he's looked for him. So whenever he shows up with his wolf companions as well, he's kind of just surprised at first, and they were just like, "You asked for us. We're here. We're ready to do." And then they like latch onto him and kind of yank him towards something, and he was like in such awe and shock that he wasn't paying attention to the message he was looking for.
Nice. So like the vision appears real to Oscar, like Honir kind of steps out from between a couple trees. He's got his wolves there. Nice, and he's just overwhelmed. We're right at about 2 hours here, so I think that moment's a good time to take a little intermission here. Since we've been going 2 hours, we could all use a little freshening up. I'm gonna grab a protein shake, but it won't be too long. And then we'll jump back in for the second half of the session, another couple hours here. Get everything situated. Alright, y'all, take care of yourselves. Freshen up. We'll meet back here in just a few. We'll keep it going. Ladies and gents. What up, Seabass? Yo, Seabass, Sabatum, really appreciate y'all fluffing the cup up a little bit. 16 subscribers, man. We were at 20 for a minute. I think we can get there again. It is the O show. Beginning of an illustrious week of O shows. Sunday. November 26th. Hope you had joyful turkeylations if you're here in the US, or even if you're not. We'll be going for about 2 more hours here, but it has been 2 hours, so it's first time to take an intermission, take care of ourselves. I encourage y'all to do the same thing. We're continuing, we're in the 12th session. Season 2, Episode 2 of the Saga of Broken Blades, our Viking-themed Dungeon World campaign. When they're in the middle of the encounter with some shadows, some shades, and it might take the whole session, dude. I'm liking it, actually. It's very critical when you're playing tabletop, never get in a rush. Let things take as long as they take. Y'all are already really hooking it up by tuning in. That's the best way to support the show. Actually tune in and enjoy it. Maybe leave it open in a tab for your cat. If you do get some value out of the show and you want to put some value back into the O show, a lot of easy ways to do that. Some of them are even free. But like I said, tuning in, enjoying the show, being a part of the community, that's honestly the best way. So I appreciate that. We'll meet back here momentarily for a couple more hours of pen and paper role playing. But right now, let's all take care of ourselves, freshen up a bit. Be back soon. What up, Jan? Thanks for your patience. It is the O Show. Sunday, November 26th. Hope your holidays are starting off well. I appreciate everybody tuning in as always. We got about 2 more hours of Dungeon World. The Saga of Broken Blades coming up here. Got myself a little protein shake. Keep the furnace going. Hope you took care of yourself during the intermission. Hope you got up and moved around a little bit.
At maximum HP, yeah, plus Constitution score, and got you. Oh, I'm a giant idiot.
Sounds like you have more HP than you thought. I kind of suspected that. But
Yeah, well, when you guys were saying like 20, I was like,
let's recalculate. I'm glad he got it sorted.
learning.
Alright, let's, if you need a sec, feel free. I need a sec to drink some protein here. So I suspect, depending on how this encounter goes, it might take the remainder of our session, which is totally cool. If it doesn't take the remainder of the session, the way I'm going to do it is kind of base it around how much time is left. If there's enough time left to kind of play out the scene that comes next based on what's gone on so far, then we'll do that as well. Otherwise, it'll be a cliffhanger for next session. Make sense?
Sounds good.
Before we had the break, Oscar just had the painful encounter with the guidance from his god. What's next?
I have a metagame question.
Yep.
If we were to, say, get a tank-like person to stand in the vortex of shadows and get them all to envelop him, could we only have to roll single hack and slashes to hit all 4 of them, or would we have to roll individual hack and slashes?
That's pretty clever. I could allow some consolidation.
Because I was thinking Bruce could defy danger, Constitution, walk out into the shades, and just kind of stand in their path and let them hit him and envelop him each time with his shield out.
Collect them, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. You have to roll the bones to see. Right now, you are... If you can imagine, Sigmund is on the ground, you're on top of him, and you're both kind of pushed up against the base of a tree.
I would do something along the lines of telling Sigmund to pay attention and follow my lead.
Sigmund is holding the
Stand up.
torch,
Yeah.
by the way.
I would stand up and walk out, shield out, and ring gear drawn.
Cool.
Do you want to try to aid him, Sigmund, or are you scared of the dice?
Well, I was wondering if Bruce was going to ask me to do something or if he was going to take the lead, but I'm assuming the latter, so in that case, I just, with my... with Sigmund's eyes still very, very wide and open, makes meaningful eye contact with Bruce in a way that will hopefully give him courage.
Perfect.
So let's see.
go.
Okay. Oh, also, sorry, I had a move which I failed to recognize before because I am basically a noob. But I have this move called A Little Help from My Friends. So if I successfully aid someone, I take +1 forward as well.
Nice.
So I think I aided someone successfully at the start of the session, but I remember that now.
I can tell you. Hold on.
Quite nice.
You aided me during a hack and slash against the shadows.
Okay.
It sounds like those accumulate throughout the scene too. Because aid is a +1 to that roll, but you get +1 forward, which is a +1 to subsequent rolls. So I think with the second aid, you're going to be up to a +2 forward on your rolls concerning these shadows.
That's very generous. And another new question: when I want to use those, when I want to use that +2, can I just use it?
It essentially applies as long as you're still in the same scene. It essentially applies to every roll you make until that scene is over. That has to deal with those particular things.
So, okay, so like based on the situation we're in now, I can use that +2 to help with any move based on that. But like afterwards, if we start talking to someone, I can't use it to like charm them or something.
You got it. Yep.
Gotcha.
So it applies for the shadows essentially. But that was a successful aid, though you are opened up if there's any trouble to the retribution. And then it sounded like Bruce was going to do a Defy Danger Constitution, right?
Yep. Oh, I held my breath too.
So that is a success. And I mean, your goal was to get the shades to congregate on you. So, you know, we can let that occur. Except for the one on Edda, of course. So Bruce and Sigmund are right next to each other like that. I'm just going to scoot this out a little bit just for visual sake, but they're all right there. And you have successfully got, including this one, the Berserk one, which is kind of going to town, like you don't just have the shades on you, you have like a shade battle royale on you because of the one that you drove Berserk. So you have a boiling, coiling mass of animate shadows all over Bruce, while Sigmund is standing by with the torch, illuminating the scene. Oscar's over here, and then Edda, Volan, that whole situation's as it was before. But do you want to describe that scene for the screen there, Bruce?
Bruce approaches the maelstrom of shadows, and he's got his shield out, and he steps into it, and he bears his shoulder against it, and each one hits with just like a thunderous thump on his shield. And after he feels the fifth one hit, he's going to raise his shield up over his head and stand with, you know, the shadows roiling and boiling. The Berserk one is clawing at the ones that are on top of it.
That sounds fucking awesome. What's next?
Edda's making a move. But she needs to crunch this apple. Hold on.
Alright, crunch that apple, baby. I'm crunching this protein shake.
Edda's hand is the one that was caught by the shade, is slowly trying to push forward towards where it knows Oscar to be. Almost as if Edda doesn't care if she's hurt in the process.
What are you trying to do?
For a defy danger constitution
To do what?
to touch Oscar.
He's pretty far away, isn't he?
Okay.
At the moment.
He touched Volan.
I don't think that works the same way, unless I can heal Oscar through Volon.
Carry these HP over to him. Good boy.
Well then, Erda and Oscar's brains are on the same wavelength, as she's trapped inside this shade with only one free hand. She holds it kind of to her chest and is praying to Tyr, because he has only one hand also. I don't know, I'm piecing this together. To use his hand to help take this shadow off of her. As a defy danger wisdom. Praying to Tyr for his hand to interfere.
I can kind of allow it because it describes using wisdom as mental fortitude, so I imagine that you pray for Tyr's hand to come and take yours and lead you out of this mess, and it works with the paladin things, so I can allow it. Roll it, see how it goes, and we'll have you describe it.
There we go.
So, by the grace of Tyr, or the virtue of you staying calm and not fighting against yourself, or what, it's almost as if an otherworldly force does pull you up and out of the shadow through that seam, which kind of just splits wide open and kind of folds back as you stand up. So whether it's like...
It's almost as if an unseen hand pulls the shadow back just enough for Edda to step out.
Yeah. So you can describe that for the screen however you want.
And that's exactly it. She's got one hand poked out, and it's as if the shadow's folded back against its own will. And Edda sees the little hole grow bigger, and she wiggles the rest of her body free.
Volan gives out a little whine. Kind of freaky shit going on right next to him. What's next?
Well, seeing Edda free, Oscar runs over to try and give a little bump and thump to that shade.
Are you gonna try to hack and slash?
Yeah.
With what?
He's gonna have. He's gonna attempt to, because he doesn't have a melee weapon.
Right.
So he's gonna run over and try to grab one into the shade and have Volan bite onto another. And we're just
there
gonna
you go. Nice. All right, we can do
these
that.
Things turn to ash and flow like blankets. We're gonna destroy them like blankets.
Roll the bones, and then we'll see how it goes, and you'll describe it for us. Like that shit.
We've turned a fight with a bunch of shades into basically a pillow fight.
Yeah.
A battle royale with bed sheets.
Yeah. Wet blanket battle royale 2017. So that on the hack and slash is you deal damage, but it deals damage back, right? So go ahead and roll a d6 plus 1 and apply that to thyself.
Oh, oops.
And then roll your damage so I can see what you do to it. And you already added from Volan, I see. Okay. So, you can tell that you did make an effect, but not very much of one. So there is some, but minimal damage.
Quick, throw it on my pile of dirty laundry.
So describe that for us, Oscar. I guess you go ahead and move you here.
Yeah, so he thinks to himself, like, Volan, you know, bite onto whatever you can and try and latch on and pull. And Oscar tries to find some type of foothold in the writhing shadow, and he just tries to yank it and stretch it until its fiber is no more. But that in itself is a very painful and jarring act, as the one that just passed through him was.
So even just the contact with it is what's hurting him. I like that. Nice. And Volan and Oscar have the shadow stretched taut between them. The wolf and his ranger master. What happens next?
Edo's gonna hack and slash through this pooled taut.
I knew it!
Mm-hmm. Shadow. It's a perfect target.
Yep, I saw it was like a perfect opportunity.
Also, a perfect opportunity for an aid.
I was gonna hold it up like we're holding up a piece of leather to be cut
Go ahead.
between us.
Let's see.
Nice.
That'll do.
All
so
right.
you will deal damage, you also take damage, so go ahead and roll a d6 plus 1 and apply that to yourself.
All right.
Then roll your damage.
Double checking something.
Double checking that extra damage you do while you're on a quest.
Exactly.
It is cool to read your character sheet. I even left you guys a little note in Discord before today's session. I was like, everyone review your sheets so you can use all your bonuses and abilities. Because I'm coming after you, baby.
Ready to do 6 damage.
So I'll tell you the result. You can describe it how you want. You have a little bit more success than Oscar did as far as the damage you do. You don't cut. Well, you can describe it how you want. I don't want to take that away from you, but you don't destroy it, but you do. It's looking severe. If it was Baldur's Gate, it would appear severely wounded, not quite near death.
Okay.
So that's how low you get it with your strike, however you want to describe that. Whether you cut through and it reforms, or whether you bounce off, or whatever you want to describe.
I think that Edda would plunge her sword through the shadow, tearing that little bit that was there from before just a little bit more. So now this stretched out shadow has a big gaping hole in the middle of it.
Nice. What's next?
How's Bruce doing in the center of these shadows? Is he taking damage, or is he just like...
He currently successfully has the roiling pile of shades up on and draped and dangling from his shield held over his head.
So they're dangling off of his shield?
Yeah, and keep in mind the Berserk one's in there too. So they're fighting each other as much as...
All
But
right.
mostly that's because I don't want to rob him of the value of his role.
See, my instinct is to set fire to the shadows, but I don't want to set fire to Bruce, so this is just a classic quandary. But how are you for health, Bruce?
18 out of 26.
Okay.
So he appears slightly wounded, but it's Bruce we're talking about here.
Yeah, he's been through us.
Exactly.
Okay. Well,
You guys can take a moment to think. I don't want to take you guys away from that, but make sure someone jumps in here soon or Daddy will have a dirty surprise.
I was just reading through the last breath move just in case, you know.
Yeah, even dying is a move in this game. You roll dice and there's a couple different options. Well, let's do this. Maybe if someone describes the tableau for us, it'll inspire some moves. So would anyone be willing to describe the overall scene right now? Maybe I'll do it. It's night, fully dark. You're standing amongst... Well, maybe it's not a dense stand of trees. It's certainly not sparse. The only light is coming from the torch held in Sigmund's hand. A ball of writhing shadows is coiling and slipping and dripping off of Bruce's shield as he holds it up high in one hand, Hringir held in the other hand, illuminated by Sigmund's torch. Then behind Bruce, you can see more dimly Volan and Oscar stretching one of these things taut, and Edda, with her blade and a two-handed grip, her shield dropped on the ground, plunged down into it, and she's desperately yanking on the blade, trying to rip further through this thing. Surely the shades make some sort of high-pitched, barely discernible whine the whole time they're excited and agitated. The edges of them are insubstantial, almost like smoke, but they're heavy, they have solid weight as well. And they're very opaque in the center. But at the edges, light almost passes through slightly. That's what's going on right now.
All right. I think Sigmund's going to take a gamble. And seeing that Bruce is kind of almost like an umbrella, kind of keeping shadows on top of his shield as they're kind of coiling and dripping off there. Sigmund is going to try and dexterously throw the torch onto the kind of swirling mass of shadows that are resting on his shield.
So it sounds like, if I'm parsing that right, you want to try to defy danger with dexterity to set the pile of shadows ablaze.
That's basically it.
Got it.
So I can take the +2?
Yep.
Right?
I could argue that might be a volley segment.
Yeah.
You're throwing a thrown weapon.
I mean, either
Would
way, if you
still be
miss, I'm gonna get
dexterity.
burned.
Yeah, let's do it like that instead. Let's
Alright,
do.
so
let's roll it as a volley. I like that idea. Take a XP, Miller, or Oscar.
Oh, sweet.
Nice.
Well, the XP was due to Miller's action, but Oscar gets it.
Um,
Miller's already max level, so
I just want to make sure I got this right. Okay. Well, here goes.
Nice.
Perfect.
And then go ahead and roll your class damage, whatever the base damage for a bard is. And I'm going to let it apply to all of them.
Woo.
However, doesn't appear to have much of an effect. Mechanically, it's just because you didn't get over their armor, but I imagine how it would look is there's a brief exultation in Sigmund's mind as he sees the shades go up, and then they quickly extinguish themselves since they're boiling and crawling all over each other. So it's like in his mind, yay! So that's what happens mechanically. If you'd like to describe, I mean that seems pretty clear, but if you want to describe Sigmund's reaction or anything,
I would say, well, okay. So Sigmund kind of, with the torch in one hand, crouches a little bit to do a kind of alley-oop kind of motion, does that, and it flies up, lands in the morass of shades, and as they kind of ignite with the fire, his face literally and emotionally lights up. And as the flames kind of dwindle and just reveal that they're fine, similarly his face drops. So
and then the torch rolls to the ground and is sitting there burning and sputtering at Bruce's feet. I won't put it out on you, I'm not that mean.
Yes, man.
If it would have been a failed roll, I'd totally put it out, though. Alright, who's next? What's up?
Well, I'm not the one with the setup strike, but I am setting up this shade for another strike.
You want to roll an aid?
I did neglect to verbally be like, that's the setup strike. That was my bad.
Oh yeah, all her strikes are setup strikes. All she has to do is call
I
a
have to-
person, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I assumed you would have picked Oscar, so it's all Gucci.
I would have. We're gonna count it. You're the best.
She
I just girlfriended that one.
I know. So setup strike means you get plus 1d4 damage on your next hack and slash. Is that correct?
Let me read if it's hack and slash or if it's just their next damage, you know?
The next attack.
The next attack. Yeah, so he could volley or hack and slash.
Roger.
Either one.
Alright, so just so you know, you have that set up, Oscar. What are we doing here?
That's all Gucci. Well, I'm the one that's setting up another strike and aiding it in.
So you just want to aid her hack and
You
slash.
want to aid me to hack and slash? We can do that.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Alright, roll the bones. Starting with Oscar. See our results, then we'll describe. So that is going to be a successful aid, but if there's a repercussion, you're all up in there too.
I figured I'm already there anyway.
Well, actually, if you roll high on the aid, you're not.
I'm holding on to the shade. I don't think I can get away.
I can always come up with some way. Don't worry about that. So now Edda rolls her hack and slash with a successful aid applied.
Why?
Let's do a good old-fashioned deal damage on this one, shall we? Which one of you feels luckier, Red or Oscar?
I'm luckier.
Roll d6 plus 1 damage, and it is applied to the both of you.
Oh. Okay.
So you both take
Not bad.
3. Armor does apply. And as far as the description, I'll just describe this one since it's a miss. The shadow, if you can imagine, is kind of held at 3 points. Volan's mouth, Oscar's holding it in his hands, feeling the numbing pain of the shadow. And then Edda has her blade through it. She's kind of trying to rip. Oscar, he's holding it taut. He says something like, again, you know. And she takes the blade out to set up again for another plunge. And just as she does, the shadow uses that opportunity to reach out and kind of flail around with its ragged edges, kind of maybe grazing you across the cheek with one of its tendrils, or, you know, because it doesn't look like it got through with much damage on you guys. What's next? Bruce is yeah, I was gonna say Bruce is holding a platter of shadows.
Yeah. Bruce is gonna try to level his shield towards a tree and slam all the shadows into it and try to pin them up against the tree.
Yeah. I like that.
Hmm.
We already talked about a tree. I mean, you can imagine there's multiple trees in here, so anytime you want to invoke a tree, that's fine. But we already talked about there kind of being one, like right here, didn't we? Where you guys are slammed up against it, so that's the one in question. So, that sounds like a hack and slash to me, honestly. Just a creatively described one.
Right.
That one's a bump and thump.
Yeah, that's definitely a bump and thump.
That's a thump and bump on me.
Ooh, why you guys rolling these fails today, dude?
That's a trumpet dump.
It's because we've all just leveled up, and so we're really low on XP, and we thought it'd be a good idea to,
I see.
you know, we're building up our reserves again.
Yeah.
I can hit level 5 now.
Hmm.
Do you want to do... Oh, no. I thought you were going to do damage. Sorry.
Yeah. Now we'll switch it up from that a little bit. So you are successful in everything that you describe. Up until the point where you bash the shadowy mass into the tree, and it you feel your shield almost stick, like it's stuck in mud. But then tendrils slither out and hang on to the shield, quickly enveloping it, taking it out of your hand. Additionally, the shadows are now kind of flitting and hovering about that tree, except for you hear the berserk one and one of the shadows going to town, almost like a cat fight behind and in the bushes at the base of the tree. What do y'all do?
Oscar needs to drop this shadow.
Edda's gonna try and pierce it one more time. You want to do that first, or do you need to drop it and go?
Well, I can combine those two and I can throw it at you.
Let's do it. Rita readies her sword behind her shoulder.
So wait, Oscar's trying to disentangle himself with the shadow?
Yeah, he needs to get rid of it.
Alright, I would say that'd be a defy danger.
I need to roll separately for the defy danger / aid.
No aid this time.
No, okay. Well, Oscar's just going to be disengaging with his hands as much as he can from a liquid and getting out of dodge.
Sounds like dexterity to me. There you go. So through Oscar's quick moves, you're able to disentangle yourself. It sounds like Edda was going to immediately hack and slash too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you do that, and then we can describe that whole scene together.
All right.
Where does Volan go, by the way, Oscar?
He'll be on either side of Edda.
Got it.
We just kind of both just drop it and let it hit the ground.
Ooh, Edda.
I failed it. It's cool. I can level now, so that's the last fail I needed. All my other rolls will be successes.
So the way I imagine it is Oscar and Volan drop it. You know, maybe Oscar even says something like now. But then Edda kind of like hesitates, and maybe she's distracted or fearful or something. And in that moment of hesitation, the go ahead and roll d6 plus 1. The shade kind of sprays up onto Edda for that much. So describe that scene for me. I kind of laid out the basics, but give me the juice.
As Oscar and Volan drop the shadow, Edda swings, but her timing's off and she misses. The shadow takes the opportunity.
Yeah, Oscar didn't, because he has this connection with Volan. He knows whatever he thinks Volan will do, but he doesn't vocalize this to Edda. So he just drops it. So Edda swing where it would have been.
Swings and misses, and the shadow takes that opportunity to kind of lash out at her, almost like a whip.
Ah, nice. What's next?
Is one of these shades pinned behind the shield, or do they all slide out?
Yeah, they all kind of like, so once you've let go of the shield, they kind of like peel off of it into the air, and the shield like slides down the tree to land at the base of it with a thump.
Okay. I'm thinking I'm just gonna have to go basic and try to hack and slash one. Do any of them look any more damage than the others?
Let me see which ones are by you. They all look the same.
Okay. And I'll go for the one between Sigmund and I.
Got it?
Sigmund sees that Bruce is picking up his shield dejectedly, and Sigmund's...
Nope, no shield back yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'd have to defy danger for that.
Sigmund hallucinates.
Sigmund wishes he had a shield.
Sigmund sees that Bruce is kind of winding up to do something, and with that, moves the torch to his right hand to point at the closest shadow and say, "This one."
There you go. Roll that aid, baby. Bards are the aid gods if you take that one move.
Yeah, man.
Because
Very
that
helpful.
+1 applies to your aid. Or
Oh,
sorry,
yeah.
the +2 that you've accumulated. Like, I'm pretty sure. Let me double check, but I'm pretty sure +1 forward means all rolls, eh?
Hell yeah.
If this extends on long enough, he will not be able to fail. Sigmund goes into a rage and hack and slashes everything.
I just need a +12 bonus, guys.
Rename that Rolling Thunder.
You know what? It's only your next roll, it looks like. So I was wrong.
All right.
So each
Well,
time you aid, you get a bonus to your next roll, basically.
Okay, so really that means like you can only really accumulate +1 forward because
Well, wait, hold up.
Otherwise-
That doesn't make a lot of sense. Do they contradict themselves in this?
I think it's +1 forward. You get it for your next move. It's kind of like the same thing as the aid. You only get the aid once for whatever you're doing.
so it's like you could never.
Got it. Yeah, you got it. So it's +1 forward, and it's to the next roll. The only difference is some abilities will be like, take +1 forward to your next hack and slash. And so in that case, you could do other moves until you did a hack and slash, and then you'd use up the +1 forward. Whereas,
So is this to distinguish it from, say, like a hold? You get to choose when you use that
you got it.
bonus,
Yeah.
but a forward is whatever you roll next.
So the specific usage of that bard ability is, so when you're using, or so the way a little help from my friends works is that whenever you successfully aid someone, you get a +1 to your next roll too. So basically you get
Cool,
the aid
okay.
bonus as well.
All right. So just to be completely clear, then you can never really accumulate more than 1 forward because
The only real way would be if you used an ability that gave you +1 forward and someone else also hit you with an ability that gave you +1 forward. Those would combine.
Okay. But I couldn't just keep
Yeah.
on aiding people to like rack up.
Nah, but you could aid consistently to always have a +1 bonus, you know? To like,
Yeah.
you can think of it like a rechargeable. Like if it's charged up, then you'd have a +1 bonus to whatever you do next. Including
Sure.
aid, which Miller points out. So you could like
Sure,
aid
sure.
somebody, get the +1 forward, and then use that +1 to have higher odds of aiding someone again.
That's cool. So
General.
just looking in the notes for the game, I did take a +2, but it would have been the same outcome. So
It's all good.
no harm, no foul. So right, just normal aid for this.
It was my bad either way, so.
That's all right.
There you go. So you got a +1 to Bruce's attempt, man. Keep in mind you've also got essentially a floating +1 for yourself.
Ooh.
So we could aid you in an attack you do next, and you could have +2 instead. Plus whatever your bonuses are.
Yeah, that'd be a way you could combine. Exactly. I'll get it. Miller's already min-maxing it.
Hey.
Then go ahead and roll your damage.
I
as
imagine
well.
everybody's snickering like this as they make their attacks.
Yeah.
9, 2 piercing.
I'm not gonna tell you its hit points, but I will tell you that you damn near killed it in one hit.
Damn.
That was the middle one, right?
The one between Sigmund and I, yeah.
Yeah. This guy right here. This one.
No.
No, one up.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. Want to make sure I'm marking off the right one.
Sigmund.
So, let me give it to you in Baldur's Gate turn so you can give me a juicy scene. You took it from uninjured to below 50% in one hit.
I would say that
With
Bruce-
the aided light from Sigmund, by the way.
yeah, he comes with a horizontal slash and cuts across its midriff, and then it burns to ash below that, but it still floats
Ooh.
and spookily hovers.
It's like a
Yes.
half shadow.
I like that. It kind of makes it gets smaller as its HP lowers. I like that. We got to develop a RPG, dude. Take over the market. Beautiful. What's next?
Oscar is behind Etta, right?
Beside Etta.
Etta's gonna step in front of him and stand in defense of her friend.
Roll it. This is a cool move if you're learning at home. By the way, let me real quick.
It's my constitution, right?
There is the link to the free rules for anyone who needs them. Defend. I'll pull the move up for everybody.
Yes.
So it's a basic move. Anyone can defend. She rolls her constitution. And if you are successful at this ability, you get something called hold, which is essentially currency, a good way to think of, that you can use to spend to do certain abilities at any time you want. Almost like an interrupt from the Magic the Gathering days, if you're familiar with that.
So I rolled a 10.
Okay, so that means you get 3 hold?
Yep.
3. Nice. But keep in mind, you've got 3 hold. Don't forget to use it.
Etta puts herself in between Oscar and the shadow. I don't think she's picked up her shield yet. It doesn't matter. She's just gonna make sure that her friend is okay. And she kind of whispers to him over her shoulder, "Finish that thing. I'll protect you."
Oscar, you gonna finish that thing?
I want to finish that thing. Because it ain't no thing.
You about to volley, I'm assuming? If I were to guess.
Yes. I tell Etta to crouch.
Duck. Now the good rolls are coming in, so that means you cleanly deal your damage.
That damage almost went to the roof because I actually fat fingered 45 instead of D4.
Given our track record, it'd still be like 2.
Yeah, boy. So that is enough to dispatch that one.
Very nice.
And I will leave that description entirely in y'all's hands. You can think about it a moment if you want to.
Etta kind of gets the attention of the shadow. She's like, "On me, on me." And then on Oscar's, when Oscar tells her to, she suddenly ducks, giving him a clear shot.
And the arrow, as it normally has been traveling through most of these shades or into something else behind them, this one finds something almost solid and strikes it and takes the shadow out into the darkness.
Yeah, I was imagining, like, exactly. It carries the shadow with the arrow, then it swung into a tree, and then the shadow just crumbles to nothing off the arrow stuck in a tree.
Nah, it's too far away. The torch is over there. I can't see that.
So it just disappears into the dark.
Disappears into the darkness.
And you cross
With a
your
little, like-
cross your little fingers and toes. that we got it. You know in your adventurous heart you did. What's next?
Real quick before we cut away.
Yeah.
Edda's gonna grab Oscar's hand as they prepare to run over to Bruce and Sigmund. And as they're running over to aid their friends, she's gonna make or say a little prayer inside for Oscar's safety and well-being. She can see is pretty banged up.
Near death would describe
Near
it.
death. This would be a paladin move called Hospitaller.
Well, that just affects one of your other moves, right?
Well, true, yeah.
So you're using Lay on Hands?
The original move is Lay on Hands.
The age-old paladin ability? And Edda has taken an advanced move here called Hospitaller, which means she heals for extra. So go ahead and... How does Lay on Hands work? Is it you gotta roll, right?
Yeah, I roll
You
plus
roll
my
charisma.
wisdom. Oh, charisma.
Yeah. You roll charisma.
Then I have to be touching the person skin to skin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good.
Damn! Just max
Because
it out.
if I don't fully succeed in that, I can still heal somebody, but I take the damage myself.
And then, of course, if you miss entirely, I get to make a move.
So I'm healing 2d8. One for the original Lay on Hands, one for Hospitaller.
Damn.
Just want to max those out to you.
11. That should help. So as Oscar and Edda run towards Sigmund and Bruce, he can feel the warmth from Edda's hand, and somehow he can feel that warmth kind of just spread through his body, and the pain from his wounds just disappears.
I'm pretty sure Tyr did all the heavy lifting there. Alright? You seem to never give it up for your friggin' patron god. Oscar's better at giving it up for his god. Yeah. I think JC's right, is that Edda's like the worst paladin of all time. She should just go full evil.
That's part of the lore. That's part of the story. She's trying very hard.
Oh yeah, I gotta revere this god that I champion and represent. Alright, what's next?
In reality, Oscar was only healed by being touched by a girl.
Exactly. A lot of people don't realize that if a girl touches you in real life, it heals many ailments.
I recovered 5 HP.
Yep.
Yeah, I was bitten by a wolf that no one else could see, and there's bite marks all over my hands.
That's some Freddy Krueger shit. I love that. What's next? By the way, real quick, 3 hours of show already. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Make sure you take a moment to at least get out of your chair. That's all I'm asking. You stretch, you do some calf raises. All that's great. At least get out of your chair for a second.
Oscar's going to walk and get a lemonade.
There you go. Take a quick moment. 3 hours in here. It's been another hour. We're in our last hour here. We usually go to about 4. And again, if it's just this encounter the whole time, that's all good. I like to let things take as long as they take in tabletop role-playing. It's as long as you're having a good time, the description, the immersion is going well, then that's the point. This has been probably, I think, one of the most fun encounters we've had. And there's a few little bits to it that have yet to even be discovered. But they will be momentarily. Maybe not this session, though. We'll have to see how it goes. Where do you guys think Bolvi is?
I just feel like season 2 is going to be this fight the whole time.
The entire season. I'm just going to keep adding shadows. You'll be like, weren't we down to 3 last time? I'll be like, nah. You pull up the video, you're like, we were definitely down to 3, and I'm just like, nah.
There's S's where in the darkness you couldn't see.
They were stacked up on top of
The
each
reason
other.
it's getting dark is because of the shadows.
Yeah, what do you think darkness is made of? Huh? Alright. What's next? Who next?
So what you're saying is if we defeat the shadows, it's eternal day?
Yes. We have to defeat everyone. Even your own. Dun, dun, dun. What's next? Who's next?
Bruce is gonna take another strike at the shadow that's to his left, I guess, to the left of the E right now. He's gonna spread out the damage.
Got it. So the one I originally thought you were going to go after is the next hack and slash target.
Correct.
And there's nothing wrong with just rolling a bunch of hack and slash. You know, that's okay. As long as you're describing it, doing cool things with it, whatever. Nothing wrong with rolling volleys. It's especially okay if it fails. That's the main thing, is every time you're wagering on that, or wagering versus that fail. This time, no. No failure.
Just max out every roll.
Yeah. Y'all
Or
got all your
rock
shitty
bottom
rolls
every
out at the
roll.
beginning.
Mm-hmm. I told you.
Hey,
now that
guys,
I've
are
got
12.
experience. Oh.
But wait.
Plus 2 piercing on 1 damage.
Yeah.
Well, Bruce has the racial ability to re-roll any damage roll.
There you go. I was actually looking at your character sheet yesterday, and I was thinking, I wonder when he's ever going to use this.
I've
Today.
used it a couple times.
Nice.
I've been like holding it up just to in case someone gets near death. But yeah, this time I'm gonna try to cut this shade.
There you go.
So wait, you can re-roll it no matter what the result is, or just a low roll?
Any damage roll I can re-roll.
Or I
So-
think you can reroll someone else's, can you?
Yeah, anything. So I re-rolled 1 attack against.
Oh yeah, you could use it to reroll a monster too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. I remember you used it one time on that.
and then I used it one more time to kill something else, and hopefully one more thing. Hey, how
There you
about that?
go. That's a
You
little
hacked a
better.
0 into that?
That seemed to work pretty well.
It's either rock bottom or top of the line.
Bruce's very binary choice.
So like, if we were playing tabletop in real life, he'd hit that D10, and I'd look down and it'd be a 1, and I'd be like, haha, and then I'd look up at Zeus, and then he'd wink one time, and I'd look down again, and it'd be a 0, and I'd be like, wait a minute.
No, I pound the table in frustration and it rolls over to 0.
Let's see. Let me take a look. So that was that one. So that's gonna be this one. Yeah. It'll be that. Alright, cool. Got it. So again, that's one you took to unwounded to below 50% if we want to look at it in Baldur's Gate terms. Do you do a similar strike?
The first strike, yes, it's a similar strike, but it does the same thing where it parts and then reconvenes on it, and then he slides the blade back up and does a horizontal strike or a vertical strike on it.
I was wondering if you were going to switch up the direction. You gotta keep it entertaining for the TV people.
Yeah, man.
Perfect. What's next, killers? Let Bruce do all the work?
I was thinking along those lines. As
Sounds
Edda,
Everybody just pile on AIDS. I can take care of it.
as Edda runs over to him, she scoops up her shield along the way and puts herself in between Bruce and the remaining shadows to defend him now.
Do you want to roll another defend?
Mm-hmm. All right. 3 hold. How much HP do you have right now, Bruce?
18.
Okay.
Edda, just for clarity, still has her shield on the ground, so the benefit
I
from
was
that
trying
is
to
not
scoop it up.
conferred.
Scoop it up along the way.
Since you're not directly threatened, I can let you do it. You have it back, that's fine. So Edda steps in, getting her shield in between Bruce and his foes. The Shades. Successful defend there. What's next?
I think Sigmund is going to try and berserk another one of the shadows. So I lost track of which ones are being attacked, but the one that's closest to Sigmund is...
The only one that hasn't been attacked in any way yet is the one down here.
that one there.
The one I'm pipping,
Okay.
yeah.
And the one next to me and the one next to Ed, they're...
These are both wounded below 50%. So you can see that they're tattered or ripped in half or what have you.
Alright.
And then you hear a cat fight going on back here, but you can't see.
Okay, so those two are already attacking each other, so... I guess then... It makes more sense to... No, I'll play it safe and target the one that's closest to me, that it will, like, try and attack.
So it
One
sounds
of the
like you're
others and,
using, it goes to 11 again, shouting it out one time for the spinal tap.
One more time.
Beautiful.
And so that will be... So I still have my forward.
You got it, you have not used it yet, so you can apply to this.
Okay. Alright.
Damn, bards are cool, dude. I might play a bard in JC's game.
They're very fun.
Yeah.
And it's charisma. Well,
All the good rolls are coming down now.
Zinga.
So when you get a 10 plus, you straight up, so which one did you want to designate? And it's going to attack its nearest ally.
So it's the one that's closest to me. So the one that's making Sigmund spell Sigmund.
Right here.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that one, and what I'll do is I'll turn it red. Like that other one, so we know. And it's gonna... That one.
Ow.
What I'll go ahead and do is actually just roll an attack for it too. Or, I guess to be more clear, is do me a favor, Sigmund, and roll d6 plus 1. What up, Tar? How's it going, man? Tar, I don't think you've ever tuned into one of the pen and paper streams since you've started subscribing to the show, man. Normally we like to do these once a week when we can. Alright. So I'll describe at least that part of it. You can, if you wouldn't mind describe for us like how your cacophony actually occurs, but the other shade that you've caused to go berserk, when it kind of collides with the shadow from behind, they kind of go into a roll, like almost exactly like cats if you've ever seen them fight. But they seem to kind of equalize, so it doesn't seem to do any damage, at least this time around. Meaning mechanically it just didn't get over its armor. But how does... Because you're using your lyre, right? That was gifted to you from Edda, I believe it was?
That's right. And I'm also holding the torch. So
So you just make some horrible noises.
Banging the
So,
torch on the strings.
Yeah. So carefully holding the lyre in one hand, the torch. So like holding the torch in one hand and basically using like the little finger, trying to play a chord very carefully. And in doing so, the torch kind of gets, because he's playing towards himself, the torch kind of gets close to his face. So Sigmund scares himself a little bit, just making the cacophony that more real.
And then I imagine it's like magically amplified too. So the horrible sound you're making is like throbbingly loud, echoing through the trees. Fucking, you hear like owls disturbed from their roost, like into the night. So you drive another one berserk successfully, but it doesn't manage to do any damage to its target yet. You know, it might later on. That was a good one, man. What's next?
If nobody else has anything, Bruce is going to slide to the other side of Edda and attack the last undamaged shade.
Yeah, man. People just, you know how this game goes. People just
Do
dive
it.
in Dungeon World.
I'm sliding with you.
Taking your pen and paper virginity to our nights, man. Tonight's been a real fun session as always. But I think that for this campaign, everyone really has a good feel for like the flow of the game and their characters and everything, so it keeps progressing more and more smoothly.
Saying a little prayer to Tyr here. Hold on.
See, Edda's got some converts in the party. So go ahead and roll a d6 plus 1 to apply to yourself, Bruce.
Edda will take the damage.
So you're spending
Use
one
up
hold.
one of her hold. Mm-hmm.
Got it. There you
Edda
go.
will take it.
Enjoy. Armor does apply.
Thank you.
I'm being a little bit nice there too. Just fair warning, there will probably be varieties of shadow deeper into this part of the adventure, deeper into the adventure, that don't give a fuck about armor, boy.
Binary choice strikes again.
That's a lot of damage, dude. Unfortunately, you've used up your racial ability.
Yep.
Well, yep. How do you want to describe that? What does that look like, since it doesn't take any damage from that? And Edda defends too. So give me the description of this dank scene.
So Bruce is going to slide to his other shoulder and try to use Hringir's range to hit this shade from a bit of a distance. And when he does, it lunges towards the two of them, and Edda shoulders her shield into it and takes the damage for him.
Nice. So it gets, the shade almost gets a riposte on you, so it causes you to wind up doing no damage. Next. Y'all just keep it rolling. I mean, granted, take a moment or two if you need to think. We don't have to be rapid fire here, but if you go too long, it's bad. So as long as you're thinking of a move or doing a move, we're cool. I should only do moves when you roll fails.
You guys want me to attack again?
Well, my last spell doesn't do anything in this situation. Unless I can eat the shades.
Let's try not to have
You don't want me
back
to
to
quarterback
back.
everybody through it?
Yeah, let's try not to have back to back. So even if you just want to come in and maybe do a volley or something, you know?
Yeah, that's what I have to do instead. The other thing is just to purify food. So.
Yo, Tar, feel free to link any other good role-playing broadcasts. They're kind of hard to come by. Like, there's a lot of them, but in my opinion, it's a little difficult to find ones that are actually enjoyable to watch. I don't even know if ours is enjoyable to watch.
Well, as the fight's been going on and everyone's weaving and dodging, Oscar looking for an opening so he can throw another arrow into the fray. and he spots one as the two shades are fighting. Since he can't really distinguish one from another, he just fires at the mass of the two of them.
If I remember correctly, I actually made everything to scale too, so you are about 30 feet away from him. You guys are rolling like animals. Yeah, Geek and Sundry is a huge one. I'm not a huge fan of tabletop where people are all trying to be like ultra comedic. Like, you're gonna have some silliness and jokes that work their way in there no matter what, but for me personally, I'm not a huge fan of that. But as far as the quality level, massive. They do an awesome job. Just stylistically, not my thing. But definitely a good one. That one's huge though. That one's even on the front page and shit, but link it up in case people have never seen it. So if you got a successful volley, Oscar, you deal your damage cleanly. And what's to that one? Okay, I got it. Hold up. Forgot to mark the other one that went berserk on the HP sheet, but I got it now. So if that was the one... okay. So in Baldur's Gate terms, Miller, you brought the one that you hit with your arrow to near death. And you hit the... You can't tell necessarily, but you actually hit the non-berserk one in that mass. Give us the description.
Well, like I said, he couldn't really distinguish as the two shades are kind of withering among each other next to the tree, so he just fires more or less at the tree behind them, and then it strikes through to one of them, because one of them now is just a bit of a tattered remains as he kind of like pumps his fist. He's like, yeah.
Like completes the shot, then he just gives a quick little yes. Nice. Yo, what up, Charlie? Thanks for tuning in. You're right here toward the end of the broadcast, but I do have everything for this campaign up to date on YouTube, and you'll be able to watch this immediately if you want to get caught up. Next, I want to hear those little brains thinking, if anything. I should ease up a little bit on the rapid fire thing. I know it's hard to think that fast, but don't wait too long.
If I were to stab into the mass of the berserk and the non-berserk one, can I hit them both or just one?
Let's make it a defy danger. So, if you want to be able to separate the berserk one from the non-berserk one, you'd have to get in there somehow yourself.
Well, I wouldn't mind just killing both of them.
There you go, so I'm thinking. No need, really.
Ed is gonna spin another hold
Okay.
to open Bruce up towards those shadows so that he can take +1 forward against them.
So you want to open one of the shades up to an attack, is what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
And you have to pick which one. So you might do that one. Because it's separate. But you can do whichever one you want.
Actually, I'm gonna wait to spend that hold until
Alright.
it's my last one.
All right.
I'm gonna min-max it a little bit.
Charlie says she owes 2 of the players fan art.
It's true.
You don't owe nobody nothing, but if you would like to be kind enough to give players fan art, I'm sure they'd be appreciative of it, is what being meant to say.
Yeah, Dave speaks my language.
I translated it for her, yeah.
Yeah.
Just yet another example of you being evil.
Yeah, I actually did. You can't help it. Anyway, what's the play then? Because Ed is not doing that.
I think I'm gonna try to. We said defy danger to try to strike both of the.
Nah, you can basically. I figure the way I would do it is I'll give you a random 50-50 on which one you actually deal damage to if you hack and slash successfully. If you would
Right.
want to have the ability to choose, you would need to separate them somehow, and that'd be a defy danger.
All right, then I'll cut the mass of berserk and non-berserk and see what happens.
There you go. So hack and slash on the cat fight ball of shadows.
Yeah.
You guys got those fails out of the system early, dude. I'm just sitting back toward the end of the session.
2 piercing.
Okay. Do me a favor and just roll a d6. That'll be determining which one you hit. Go old school with it. Alright. I'm assuming the one you want to hit is the non-berserk one, eh?
Either one. They all
Alright.
have to die.
Well, I basically was gonna do high on the d6 is what you wanted. So that'll be that, and then you got 5 damage. Wouldn't you know it? That's literally exactly enough to take that one from near death to death. So describe that for me, because you take out this one from that fight with your hack and slash mid battle.
I think it's just a simple low strike to cut it out from underneath the one that's berserking, and it crumbles to ash below it, and then it tries to focus on the next shade.
Yeah, it immediately just, like, it flutters in midair for a moment and then right to the next.
Yeah, like ravenously.
Exactly. What's next?
I think I'm going to spend my balance. I'll spend 2 balance to heal myself.
I don't think there's any roll or anything associated with that, right?
No, just D4 for each one I spend.
I would say ordinarily it'd be a defy danger, but A, you've got the berserk one on that shade. B, Edda is standing in defense, so I'll let you use balance. What up, Jess? Yeah, we're battling some S's tonight. Tonight's whole session has been the continuation of this encounter with some shadows in the forest at sunset here. The party encountered a wrecked caravan that had essentially shadows like feeding on it on their way to this location called Gusabi's tomb. So today's episode was sponsored by the letter S as a result of that. So we're kind of toward the end of the encounter. We've got 2 shades that have been driven berserk by Sigmund, the Scald, and the party seems to be trying to finish them off here. Onward.
Sigmund, get over here.
All right.
Wasabi's tomb, yeah.
seeing as the one shades, or the couple of shades we hear quarreling that we can't see, the other one that's in visual that we can see quarreling, I shout over to Sigmund to come over to me, and I shove my bow into his hand and hand him an arrow. It's time for some practice, boy.
Cool.
That
You're ready to spend those
bondsmanship.
bolts.
That bondsmanship. I like it, dude. So you're gonna make Sigmund roll a volley?
Yeah.
I like it, dude.
I'm gonna have Edda turn around preemptively.
To shield you from the other side in case he misses.
I imagine Bruce and Etta kind of just meet eyes. Because keep in mind, Sigmund is the one holding... Or no, the torch is actually still on the ground over here. I need to mark that since it fell on the ground. But it's still in a location where you guys could see. Remember, it rolled off your shield?
Yeah.
So the torch is like on the ground right there. So it's still illuminated, but I imagine Bruce and Etta kind of meet eyes and just kind of raise their eyebrows, and then Etta's like gets between. It is kind of a cool lore roleplay moment though, because Oscar realizes essentially you're safe for the moment because you've got these shades embroiled with each other. So he's got a bond with Sigmund, right? What is the bond?
Yeah. Sigmund does not understand life in the wild, so I will teach him.
So this is a perfect way to work on that bond. Awesome.
Excellent.
So you trade your lyre for the bow.
Yep. Sigmund says, "Okay, hold this."
Pretty sure that's exactly what I'd say.
And
So this is
Before-
the string. This is how this works.
it's like a lyre, except there's an arrow involved. Sigmund looks at Oscar and says, "You got any words of advice?" Take
You
this
hold
shot.
the arrow here.
He's
You
milking.
knock it.
He's milking that aid, boy. Please,
Well, I plan to give him instruction regardless.
please help me, Daddy.
Like, here, have fun with this. So here, you knock the arrow. You put it, let the arrow rest on one finger and hold it between there so it stays steady. Let that aim off. I don't know, Sigmund left or right-handed.
Oh, left, definitely. Just to be
So he's
awkward.
like, you tell him you gotta make sure you aim a little to the right of your target.
He shoots goofy-footed.
I'm on a skateboard at the same time. I mean, Sigmund's on a skateboard at the same time.
And then I help him draw the bow back. He may not be as strong, so fully aiding him.
Oh, dude. So you turn it into some slash fiction real quick.
Yeah.
Pull it back together. Your sweat mingling. I like it, dude. Now I can't wait for you to roll some of these misses for me.
Yeah, that's gonna be good.
So I can have a shadow peel off, screeching into your face. Alright, so the aid is a success, though if it goes wrong, you are exposed to the danger as well, Oscar.
Which feels appropriate given how we were just described that.
Oh yeah.
All right.
The danger is an STD. Jess says you can feel Oscar's breath on the back of your neck.
And it's volley, right? So it's
Well, that's how he's
So-
given the +1. Yeah, you had it
So
right,
with-
Jess. Oscar's behind Sigma.
so with the power of friendship, I let loose my arrow. I don't know which one I'm aiming for.
You're kind of aiming at the ball of them, and then
Well,
it'll
there's
be.
there's a mass there. so you
Random.
just
I'll
gotta
basically
figure it
give
out.
you 50-50 on which one it hits in this
Alright.
ball here.
Okay.
Look, there's 2 targets.
Although Sigmund's eyes have been open this for the past 4 hours.
You don't close your eyes.
He's scrunched them shut, and
Scrunch them shut.
Yeah, dude, the eyes closed. Perfect. Nicely done.
didn't even need him.
And roll the damage.
Woo.
I would Since that like fails to penetrate their armor, that arrow would basically bounce off. So
Still hits at an eye in
so
the
he
face.
closes his eyes. Perfect accuracy, but the draw was too flimsy. Bounces off.
Do it again.
I just tell Sigmund, it hit.
Gotta give him some encouragement, yeah.
Alright. Well, Sigmund goes for another.
You can do this one all on your own.
Okay.
You figured it out.
You're really gonna roll another? Nice. Y'all are playing with death right here. I like it.
So fumbling for a second arrow.
I think it's funny because this encounter was probably one of the gnarliest ones your characters have faced. So y'all are, as players, are like cooling off steam right now. You're like just shoot at us.
Fumbling for an arrow, it gets it the right way around, turns it around, puts it in, lets it loose into the mass. Man, pretty clever.
You should have been an archer, man.
Maybe we could just start using this lyre as a bow.
Roll that damage again. Let's see.
Yes.
Bounces off again.
Bruce, maybe you should finish these guys off.
Alright,
Sigmund, that's a start.
Has identified where the shadows are.
It's medieval laser pointer.
By pointing twice, wouldn't it?
Accurate, but not strong, man. It makes sense. I would say Oscar wouldn't be that surprised, you know? Probably what he would expect.
He was just like, that's why I was like, well, you hit it.
Because
So
look,
it's a good
when you
start.
helped him with the draw, he did 2 damage, and then when it was just him, he did only 1. So, what's next?
Bruce is gonna go ahead and put one of the shadows out of their misery here.
That is gonna swing back around.
Go ahead. I was hoping you're gonna at least fail that one. All right.
Damn. They've developed shields.
I mean,
That's too piercing. No?
I'm just gonna call it that by now. That one would have eaten that one. And then this one hisses off into the darkness. Anyone who takes a peek behind the tree notices these are gone too. So presumably this one ate that one. And then they're still berserk against their own kind, so they flee into the distance. It doesn't like wear off or anything. So that would clear up that encounter.
Hey.
That's fun as fuck. Now, I think what I'm going to do is we'll have a little bit of a lore cliffhanger. So I'm going to have just a little description here. Then we'll do our end of session move so we can make sure we're done by 4. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So let's set up the next scene here. I'm kind of going to jump right into it. I would assume that the party, the band of Broken Blades, would kind of convene to get their shit together. Who would pick up the torch off the ground, just out of curiosity?
It's Bruce's torch, so I assume he'd pick it up after collecting his shield and throwing it over his back.
So he's holding the torch. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have we're gonna have a little cliffhanger here. So into the ring of light, of course. You know who steps, right?
All the shadows.
Our our hopefully friend, Bolvi.
So Bolvi, as a little recap, is one of the troopers at Ugathwaite they keep in the Volker Forest, where your characters just recently spent some time incarcerated, doing some hard labor and trade for supplies to take on their way into their being outlawed for a year and a day. By the way, we'll have to look at the notes so we know when that year and a day is up. Well, because your characters will probably be counting the the days. Like, all right, we're finally not outlawed. We can not worry about it. Anyway, Bolvi was a trooper from Ugathwaite who pointed out Bruce's ancestral blade, Hringir, a artifact from his lineage, which he believes to be of the giants, and said, "I know that blade," I think is what he said, or something like that.
Yes.
So he's here. He had watched from the boulder until the sun set, and then it seems like he continued watching until the coast was clear. He steps into the flickering light from the torch amongst the trees with you. He has taken off his tabard of Ugathwaite, stowed it in his pack, presumably. He's wearing his own clothes, traveling leathers. He's got, if I remember, I said he had like brown hair, like dark brown. He probably has like bangs cut across, kind of like that Conan the Barbarian cut. Got a beard, kind of a ruddy face. Maybe he drinks a lot of mead. Big boy, rotund, not as big as Bruce, of course. He's armed, he's got an axe, we'll say. He's smiling. And the cliffhanger, as he's smiling, shakes his head a little bit. He has his arms crossed over his ample belly. And he says, "My, perhaps you are his son after all," while staring Bruce in the eye. Then that's the end of this session. Law and Order knock. Except, of course, for the end of session move. Y'all ready for that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Bruce, are you gonna need an episode of Maury to figure out who your real dad is?
That's what's in Gusabi's tomb.
Into session move. So the first component of this is to ask if anyone feels like they fulfilled one of their bonds. And what I'll do is I'll move us to the overworld map for this too, just so we can enjoy. But we need some updates on this thing, fam. 2 departments. We got the Lewis department and the JC department.
It's true.
I mean, I'm happy to make my little marks. That's good enough. But it could be a thing of beauty. Especially if we have the campaign for a long ass time, and like I was talking about before, I could get it like made where a poster be sick. Anyhow. Anyone resolve a bond?
The only one I'm looking at is I have sworn to protect Etta. I kind of left her stranded under a shade that she could fend for herself, but I don't think that's 100% done.
And I spent a lot of time protecting you.
I mean, you could say it's resolved in that it's different, in that it's the opposite, it's inverted. She protects you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I would definitely say that could be resolved, because that was literally the inverse.
Right.
Do you have one you already... Well, first you mark an XP, because it sounds like Etta agrees. And then, do you have another bond you'd like to write now, or do you want to think about it until next session?
I'm gonna brew it up for a while.
Gotcha. Just don't forget. Anybody else? Even Jess is out here thinking Oscar and Sigmund fulfilled a bond. What do y'all think?
Well, I don't have any particular bond with Oscar that I think got resolved. Because mine is I want Oscar to learn from me. And I guess he learned that I'm like incredibly weak, but that's not really.
I feel like maybe his is potentially resolved.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing bits and bobs here and there.
And it was cool because it kind of came to a head because it wasn't that he didn't know what he was doing almost. Like, he nailed the shots every time. He just wasn't strong enough to make it happen, and there's no real way you can teach that, you know? But you can resolve that if you'd like. Sounds like you both agree.
I do.
If so, mark it off. Or, I mean, get rid of it, mark XP, and then do you have another bond to do now that you've been thinking about, or do you want to think about it?
No, I didn't even plan to resolve that one.
Nice.
It just kind of came up.
Nice. Alright, so remember you've got a bond slot. And it didn't sound like anybody else had any, right? So the next one is, or the next component is take a look at all your alignments and ask yourself if you fulfilled your alignment at some point during the session.
Are shades worthy opponents?
Oh yeah, definitely. That I think was the hardest encounter you guys have had in the campaign so far.
And I have defeated a worthy opponent.
Mark XP.
Mine is perform your art to aid someone else, which I don't think technically I did.
Oh, you aided tons.
Berserk
But
things.
with my art,
Yeah.
just with
Yeah,
just with,
berserking the shades.
I would give it to you because there were several times where you did aid, like you did the straight up aid move, and you did it by saying like some encouraging shit. So that's like the whole point of a scald, basically. Is
You
to
have
be
the
like,
gift of gab. It's your voice that encourages
the
us.
So yeah, Mark
Yeah, nice.
XP for sure.
All right.
You fulfilled your alignment. Anybody else feel like they did? Or feel like their character's starting to drift alignment and they want to think about changing?
I'm working on an overall arc for it, yeah.
I mean, Etta can roleplay that, you know, she's trying to
role-playing
be
that she's
good.
Trying.
Yeah. That's what I feel like.
For the
she's
greater
probably
good
doing.
is what she thinks.
So then we'll ask these questions here. Did we learn something new and important about the world?
Bruce may not know his true father.
That's exactly what I was thinking, is that Bruce, like, and here's the deeper lore. Bruce's father is dead and died defending their village from an orc onslaught over a decade ago. See, that's what I was thinking, JC, is Etta might drift more toward lawful instead of good, but now she's actually, she has one of the good alignments right now. Anyhow, I definitely think everyone gets credit, so mark XP on that question, because we learned that Bruce, his father, which was basically we took as a fact of the environment, may not actually be his father, at least according to this guy. But who's this guy? Some random ass trooper from Ugathwaite? Fuck. Second question is, did we overcome a notable monster or see an enemy? Did we?
The shades.
Yeah, I like that encounter. I think that was real cool. I think that definitely counts as a notable. It's the first time y'all have encountered something that was like not exactly straightforward. It wasn't like a orc or a bandit or whatever. So definitely everyone marks XP for that. God damn, you're about to level 14 times. And then, did you loot a memorable treasure?
No.
Nope.
Not yet.
Sigmund and Oscar looted friendship.
Nah. So that's a no on that one. Groovy. Who has enough XP sitting in the bank to level again?
I do.
Bruce does.
And how long are you going to need for your next level? Remember, we're doing days.
11 days.
Okay.
The days is the XP you need? I would need 12.
Okay. And so our next session, we'll decide then, but we can either keep going right in the moment, or we can kind of fast forward a little bit. Like, we'll probably do a combination. We'll role play a little bit with Bolvi. That'll determine essentially whether or not he's there with you at Gusabi's tomb. Because really, when we come back to real time, you guys are already at the entrance to Gusabi's tomb. So the next session will be a little bit with Bolvi, then the entrance to the tomb itself, and we'll start that dungeon crawl. And I'm warning you ahead of time, it's not going to be a simple one. It's going to be large. It's going to take multiple trips back and forth probably. It's going to be some savagery. So I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, thanks for playing, y'all. Just go ahead and do the usual thing. Post everybody's shit. We'll get it figured out. We got a nice thing going on that. See y'all next time. Alright, y'all. Gonna wrap up that session, man. That was a lot of fun. Let me take a quick note here to myself. One moment, fam. Alright, cool. I just need to take a couple quick notes there. Appreciate everybody tuning in as always. It's just the beginning of the week of Oshos. I added a much nicer schedule extension to the Twitch page, so it's got all the shows there for your perusal. We'll be playing GTA Online together tomorrow, and then the rest of the week, that good Destiny 2. Y'all already supported the show in the best way possible by hanging out, tuning in, enjoying. Really appreciate that. If you get some value out of the O show, if you want to put some value back into it, a lot of easy ways to do that. Some of them are even free. But real talk, the best way to support, my favorite way, is for y'all to hang out, tune in, chill out, enjoy. Maybe leave the stream up in a browser window, or leave it on for your cat or something. But we'll be back at it again all week, man. We'll be playing some GTA Online together tomorrow. Like I said, Destiny 2, rest of the week. I would like to thank some illustrious members of the 420 Club. Let me thank Kit Woo, Con Cat, Freeborn Pat, Sabatum, Vodka, Globe 99, and Miller Duo. Also, let me take a look. Anybody's streaming for you to tune into and enjoy. Here you go. This dude's pretty funny. He's a good guy. His name is Mercury. He plays with zombie barricades a lot. He's believe he's an English gentleman. And I think he's living in Scotland. And he's pretty fucking funny. So I'm going to raid him. How that works, if you've never done a raid before, is it'll pop up at the top of your chat window to click join the raid. And then once the stream ends, it'll automatically take all the raiders right over to his channel. We'll try to boost them up a little bit. So there you go. You can join now. We'll wrap it up here. And I'll see you all tomorrow.